It is 6 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Will Boulding. The Tush Push is here to stay for now. 16 teams supported Green Bay's submission, which would have banned players from immediately pushing the player who receives the snap. That number yesterday fell 8 votes short of the minimum needed to change the rules, but the proposal was tabled. And when the owners gather again in May, it is expected to get more conversation. 6-time Pro Bowl defensive lineman Calais Campbell has finalized a 1-year deal returning to the Arizona Cardinals for his 18th NFL season. The 1-year deal is for $5.5 million and has a max value of $7.5 million. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the 38-year-old was the team's second-round pick in 2008 and played with the Cardinals until 2016. The season-opening nightmare continued for the Atlanta Braves last night as they fell to 0-6 with a 3-1 loss to the 7-0 Dodgers on Tuesday night at Dodger Stadium. It's the worst start for the Braves since they started 0-9 in 2016. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are off to MLB's best start for a defending World Series champion since the 1933 Yankees of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. RKW brewed by Scooter's Coffee with the whole crew back together in studio. Ramone Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Boulding. 615-737-1045 is the number. Owners meetings continuing, or wrapping up, we should say, in Palm Beach. Draft conversation from our friend Steve Palazzolo, Rhett Bryan scouting edge rushers, and a conversation on loving football, even when you're on camera as a freshman in college. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing?
Hey, we're good. Good morning. Good, folks. Happy hump day, man. We're halfway through this week. We're solid, Will.
How's your Tuesday off?
Tuesday was good, man. Had an opportunity to go see the Vols in Knoxville on Monday night, man. It was real cool. It was my first time getting that type of opportunity since the spring practice. Nighttime, it was cool. They run a tight ship as pertains to practices and stuff, man.
Oh, yeah. Nowadays especially, right?
It was. They're also renovating the facility again, the indoor. I walked in, I was like, what's going on over there? Why is the weight room not open? Well, we're getting something else. I was like, why? That was a beautiful weight room. I'm guessing they're probably going to add a slide and waterfall to it.
Have a mini golf course now.
Mini golf course, a golf simulator.
Yeah,
seriously. I wouldn't doubt it. I seriously would not. I joke, but I definitely think that would be something that they're capable of. It was cool, though, man. I got an opportunity to sit in on the team meeting for a second. I was brought in, and I was just like, oh, this is a real team meeting. Way different.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been 5 years, at least on one side of it, man. But here coaches speak about goals, tasks for the day, just the implementing your standards. And hearing Coach Heupel speak of that, and also ended up breaking from the big team meeting room and going to the offensive line room. And it was weird, man, because I figured if I walked in and Coach Ellaby, like, I was going to be asked to say something. I was somewhat prepared to speak to the guys.
Sure.
Weird, though, y'all. Hear me out. I got a sweatshirt on now. I don't know why. I thought it was going to be cold today, but it's already 67 outside, and I think we're supposed to hit the 80s today, which is, I'm taking this off as soon as we get off air, okay? But with that being said, I had on a light, long sleeve. Nothing to be hot in at all. As soon as I got in front of, that O-line group, I just started sweating. I wasn't tired. I don't know if I was nervous.
Like a nervous thing?
I never get nervous when it comes to speaking like that. I was chill and everything. And I was just like, guys, I don't know why I'm sweating in this room. And they just bust out laughing. But I said some stuff to them, man. I ended up leaving my number up on the wall. I had a couple guys reach out to me, helping them with some of their technique and stuff like that, man. So it was actually pretty cool.
Coach Moan.
It was funny. One of the particular guys, I won't disclose him, sent me 15 clips. It was like, hey, can you
look at my stuff?
Can you help me out with this? I was like, look, I don't want to step on Coach Ellerby's feet or anything like that. I was like, but yeah, this is what you should do here. And It was a real good engagement with him. I was at a baseball game, supposed to be watching that, and I'm over breaking down film and helping the young fella out, man. So it was real cool. I'll say this, too, in seeing the scrimmage, they got some good stuff up there.
I was going to say, don't give too much away. Somebody in a black suit with an orange tie will come in and snipe you.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, no, for real.
They're not messing around with that
I was told 1 or 2 times, this didn't happen, okay? It was some nice wrinkles to it, man. But the guys, I know that Austin brought up a few guys that performed well and stuff like that. Yeah. It was the dudes that you needed to show up and the stuff that you asked. I said axe like we're chopping down a tree. The stuff that you ask, as far as Coach Heupel's offense, you see some of those things that are starting to happen. So it was good. Defensively, too, man.
A little vague update. I love it. You know how to play the game.
I have to. I did get an opportunity after the scrimmage to go to Coach Rodney Garner's team meeting room, y'all.
How was that?
A treat.
I bet.
Okay, an entire treat. I was asking about a local product here, man. I'll just go and say, like Ethan Nutley. I was talking about him. He actually had a good day. He did have a good night. I will say that. And I was just like, man, I won't say too much. I always try to make sure there's a fine line between my job and my access, right? I was like, I won't speak about it, anything like that on there. He's like, no. It's like, you should tell the people. Ethan's having a real good year. He was like,
That's awesome.
You should tell him. Ethan's having a good spring so far, and said that he also said, I'm gonna stay on his butt. But
Sure.
He's like, don't be afraid to say he's having a good spring. He should be able to help the Vols out in the fall as a freshman.
When Ronnie Garner goes out and says nice things about you, then you're doing right.
You kind of need to hear from him.
Right.
Because he coaches hard. Sure. Okay,
he's the kind of person that'll tell everyone else you're doing well, but to your face, all right, son, keep it coming.
Hey, hearing it,
do more.
You no longer recruit is what I would tell you. And had a couple opportunities in today's game where you can actually speak to recruits. It's funny. It was a Monday and a Tuesday. There are like visitors on campus. I'm not sure if it's other people that have like spring breaks later because we have ours so early in Tennessee. But there were numerous like prospects on campus that weren't local. And I didn't realize that happened. But with recruiting, what is it? It's moved up now where you got to commit, or the big signing day is in December. You have to get on campus now. It was fascinating to see that as an old head, I say that I'm 20 years out now.
Different.
That was different.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was way different. I did not expect to see athletes on campus on a Monday night.
I wouldn't have either. Yeah.
No, that was new. But all in all, solid. Very solid.
I like it.
Cool.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, glad you got to go. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's a
it was a good time. Real good time.
615-737-1045 is our number. Tush push, vote pushed. That news coming out right at the end of the show yesterday. Ramone, do you have an issue with guys getting pushed over the line of scrimmage?
I do not.
Do you have a safety issue with it?
Do not have a safety issue.
Perfect. That's all we really need to know.
Pretty much what
it's two sides. Like I will say on extra point and field goal, when they changed that rule where you could double wedge and have like that right there was we're not going forward on that one. Like, we used to get beat the heck up on extra point and field goals. And it's funny because defensive linemen, this isn't even at the college level, the defensive linemen would just lick their chops and would be in positions like, yeah, we about to bleep y'all up. You'd be like, come on, man. Like, y'all already losing. We know.
We know. That's why we're doing it.
We know. And they would, like, tee off and, like, push guys up the middle. And so much so, like, as far as, like, performance of the game, like, snappers, most teams only have one. The backup snapper, usually a linebacker or a tight end, they suck most times. Like, you never plan on using the backup long snapper in the game or guys that are throwing the ball back on extra point and field goals. So I get that one. You have no ability to really, like, defend yourself.
Yeah.
But on the tush push, what's the difference between that and, like, 3rd and 1 and you line it up? Like, you know what you're getting yourself into. So this one to me is dumb. Like, go get you a group of offensive linemen or a quarterback that you're willing to put in harm's way to really, like, execute this play if you have this much of an issue with it. It's bad because the frequency of, I think, of what the Eagles do. But that's gamesmanship. If coaches can have tricks up their sleeves as it pertains to referees and rules and what you're allowed to do and for players, what you're allowed to wear on the field. Like, there's some stuff that goes on the football field. You're like, you're not supposed to have that on your jersey, or you're not supposed to have that. Like, there's a lot of that goes on. So if you're not cheating, you ain't trying. That's the way I look at that one. Like, the tush push is a part of the game at this point. So stop it. What's the difference between that and the Statue of Liberty play the teams run?
Well, I was telling
it's deception, or it's the fact that we got one on you. The flea flicker. Let's get rid of that too then.
I was telling Will yesterday, too, this whole thing that they're trying to use about it being a safety thing is bull, because you're trying to add another game. You probably get to 20 at some point. So if you're going to talk about player safety, I don't want to hear this about this being a safety issue with the tush push.
Right.
Like, I'm not buying that.
There's just no data to back it up yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. The reason a lot of coaches don't like the tush push or quarterback sneaks is because you have linebackers and defensive linemen that will tee off on your quarterback. Like, it's just that not every team has a quarterback that's willing to put themselves in harm's way. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Heck, I don't even think Lamar Jackson does it like that. Like, it's not many. It's Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and that's about it. That's willing to, like, put their bodies on the line in short yardage situations.
Well, Will Levis.
Well, yeah, he did helicopter.
If we're talking about starting quarterbacks,
that's
then
true.
Not Will Levis, but yeah.
But even then, Vrabel's like, you got to stop that crap. Remember that? Like,
oh, I remember.
Yeah, it was.
He didn't execute it well.
He didn't. Well, he tried.
He tried.
His completion percentage was low on those type of situations. But it was cool seeing his body fly through the air like that, though. I ain't gonna lie to you. Seeing him go sideways was.
He did some interesting things.
He did do some interesting stuff.
Did you get got by any April Fool's jokes yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
I did not yesterday. I was in a
What'd you get got by?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you said,
all
yeah.
Morning.
All morning.
I Will had to keep reminding me it was April Fool's. I keep seeing this stuff. And then I don't know what, one of these Titans podcasts kept on putting stuff up about signing players. And I mean, I didn't believe it, but I was like, I did have to go check the internet to double, triple check. Like, okay, is this right? I did see they did sign Justin Hardy.
That was real?
That one was real. Yes. Special teamer.
The one I kept seeing was that there was supposed to be an outdoor hockey game in Neyland Stadium in 2026.
Really?
That one got a lot of people.
I saw that one pop up. Yeah, I saw that one pop up.
I kind of would believe that.
The weather, I don't think is good enough.
They've done it in California and Florida.
They have done it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I just didn't think so.
They've done it here.
They have done it here, but it was cold as heck that day.
It was.
Too.
Well, I mean, you're not going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
They were saying for next year.
Yeah.
But that is not true. Not happening. That's fake news.
That was fake news.
They should do a college stadium series. They do a stadium series.
They do a stadium
They did this past year in Columbus.
Columbus.
They sure did. I thought Minnesota
Buckeyes.
And the year
had it.
before that, NC State.
Yes.
I didn't realize they were going
They've
to
done
college
a bunch of
venues.
college teams.
Sure have. Sure in the heck have.
For sure. Yep.
I didn't get got yesterday. I was in very serious team meetings and stuff, so nobody was playing around there.
True.
Proud of you.
By the way, I can say it now. Walking around the facilities, and I'm sure it's not just in Knoxville. Mercedes,
Jeez
BMW,
Louise. I can't
Range
imagine.
Rover, Hellcat, 392
You had
Scat
like the
Pack.
worst
And all
ticker
the
out of them
football players get to park next to the facility, which us non-revenue athletes did not have the luxury of doing. But that's fine. It's all right. I'll get it one day.
I parked
so
illegal too
wild.
yesterday. I got no ticket.
Right on the curb.
There you go.
I was hyped, man.
Got to do it.
615-737-1045. Steve Palazzolo compares Will Levis and Cam Ward with us next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. You've probably been looking for cars and see the words buy here, pay here, and it makes you think, it's not a place I want to go. And I get it. Most of those dealers have bad reputations. But I'm here to tell you there is one place you can go, Nolensville Road Auto Mart. And they're different for a few simple reasons. They have been doing business in Nashville for 61 years. They're Nashville natives that only sell clean title cars under 12 grand. So if you're new to town and you need a place to trust, they have got you. Or maybe you're just looking for that first car for the 16-year-old in your family. They can do that as well. Give them a call, 615-242-1279. And if you don't want to take my word for it, check out the Google reviews. They are excellent. With one location on Nolensville Road, close to Thompson Lane, they will get you in and out in an hour or less. So the oldest buy here, pay here in Nashville, flexibility, transparency, and honesty. That's why I recommend Nolensville Road Auto Mart. Give them a call, 615-242-1279. RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone with locations all around Middle Tennessee. White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Make sure you download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. We're going to compare Will Levis and Cam Ward and really tell you why there is not much of a comparison to be made. Steve Palazzolo on yesterday's show in Hour 4 had a very interesting comment on what makes them different. But before we do that, let's start on the phones with David in Portland. First up this morning. Hey, David.
Morning, Will. How you doing?
Good.
So, what's going on with our team, man?
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I'm on the edge of the cliff. I'm ready. I'm ready to jump, and I'm fearing that by the time that Strider, comes back from Gwinnett and Acuna is healthy, that the season is just going to be long gone. So. That's all I need. Love the show, and y'all have a good day.
Thank you, David.
What a Braves minute. Let's go.
The last time they were 0-5 or 0-4, they won the World Series. They're obviously not 0-4 anymore. They're even worse now. They are 0-6. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Ownership did not allow Alex Anthopoulos to make the necessary moves he needed to, and this is what happens. Yeah. Now, granted, the scheduling gods did not do them any favors. There are a lot of teams that would be looking this bad against Dustin May and against the Padres rotation, but this new hitting coach coming over from the Rangers, I think they're thinking about too many different things because you've got guys that typically start the season off really well who are hitting like 150.
That's not
Matt Olson's hitting like 140. They're barreling a lot of baseballs is why I'm not in panic mode yet. I don't know. It's just, it's sad.
So that was a real post. I thought that was an April Fool's joke yesterday. Like all of the Braves are batting in hundreds, 100s?
Yeah,
that is not an April Fool's.
That was real? Oh,
I mean, there are guys that are just uncompetitive at the plate. Like Michael Harris looks lost. Like totally lost.
He's usually aggressive if I'm not mistaken.
Well, no,
man.
that's the problem is he's still being aggressive, but he's not hitting a baseball.
Okay, I got you.
Drake Baldwin, though, has had like 2 warning track fly balls, and like they're hitting line drives right at people. I don't know.
Before we go,
it's a long season.
Baseball's a long season.
So I was going to say, do you just chalk
season.
that up as this just baseball, or do you think the hitting coach is a problem?
They've got a lot of swings and misses.
Yeah, the hitting needs to get fixed before it gets too big in a hole. You got to figure out how to get yourself.
Scored 9 runs all season, I believe,
through 8 games, 6 games, 6 games.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not great. It's really not great. Thankfully, they've been on the West Coast, so I don't have to watch all of it. I'd be probably more upset if I was sitting there watching the whole thing. But last night I went to bed, 4th inning. All right, 1-0. Okay.
Yeah.
Wake up. Nope.
So you remember the end score?
3-1.
3-1 was the score. Okay, well, it's not like they're getting blown out. It's just a matter of offensive production.
Well, that's the thing. They've given up leads.
It's been that. Real quick, I mentioned this type of. Is it because there's been a bunch of turnover? Just they didn't have the money to spend this offseason?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Their lineup, there's been no turnover. They just can't hit.
They just can't hit. That's tough.
Well, anyway, it's a long season.
It is a long season. That's what you say. So they started off the season on the West Coast. I did see a little bit of the Padres series.
The Padres in 4, and then they're down 0-2. And Ronaldo Lopez is out for months after one start, having arthroscopic shoulder surgery. So we've got a AAA guy, Bryce Elder, going today against somebody good. Blake Snell, one of those Cy Young winners the Dodgers have. So.
One of the many paid.
One of those Cy Young winners.
The guy who was crying in the dugout the other day after he had a bad start to the season that sparked quite a conversation on social media.
Oh,
anyway.
Yeah. Call him out, Will. It's a long season, man.
I'm not calling anybody out. He was crying in the dugout. So after he had a bad start and people are calling him soft and it's one start ever, there's a whole thing.
I thought they said there's no crying in baseball.
That's the saying, yeah.
That's the saying.
You watch the League of Their Own, that's a very big saying.
Sasaki.
I feel like that's law now. That's law now. That's terrible, man. But long season with baseball is. I have a newfound respect for it. Just in general.
I feel like you're at 162 games a month.
It feels that way.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
I mean, the rain is shutting down everything, I think, starting today. But as far as like every day this week, we got something, except for Sunday.
Oh, well, yeah, we're supposed to get like
day of rest.
Almost like 2010 level, maybe not that level, but we're supposed to get like a foot of rain.
That's what Rhett said yesterday.
Through the weekend. So Marcus Bagwell at News 2 was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rhett was watching it, was like, wait, is this? And then I was at the gas pump and I heard it again. He was like, 12 inches. Probably like that's on the radar. And I'm going, okay, this is not an April Fool's joke.
Well, it was a lot of good information came out yesterday on a bad day to have information come out. Either way, I appreciate the Braves minute. I might try to make it down there in some capacity.
If they keep losing, it's going to be the Braves
out.
10 seconds.
Yeah.
If they start winning, it'll be the Braves minute again.
Let's do it again then.
The second
we'll circle
update.
back. We'll
Braves
do a week.
second update.
We're going to get back to the East Coast. We'll do a week recap, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
wonder how
always
the
down for talking baseball. Y'all know that.
I am too. By
Our
the way,
listeners aren't, so that's why we don't.
I know. Well, what? I mean, who
Yankees
cares?
last night
Just
giving it up.
joking.
Did you see the grand slam?
No.
Oh my gosh. It was a bases loaded, of course, grand slam. Bases loaded, 3-2 count, and I forget who it was that hit the grand slam. Yankee fans, they showed on the broadcast last night. Middle fingers all over the television. They were cussing the guy out, and silence. Okay, complete silence after that. And it went barely. Well, I didn't keep up with names. I still don't know that either.
You know who doesn't like those bats?
I got you.
Is our friend Steve Palazzolo.
Steve don't like them?
Go look
Pitchers
on his
won't.
Instagram or on his Twitter.
Pitchers will not like them at all. Absolutely
like that.
not. No, I'll give you those answers.
Anyway, that was talking baseball.
I was talking baseball.
615-737-1045, the number. Comparing Will Levis and Cam Ward. Speaking of Steve Palazzolo, we asked him yesterday, what makes these two guys different? And our good friend of the 33rd team had this to say.
Yeah, with my PFF history, I like to use the stat called turnover-worthy plays, right, as a descriptor of, okay, this was a bad play, whether it was intercepted or not, here's a bad play. But I think the way that Levis and Cam Ward get to those plays is different. So with Cam Ward, you mentioned hero ball. I'm sure you guys have been talking about that a bunch over the last few weeks and months. That is what Cam Ward is, right? Like he's trying to create these big plays, whereas I think Levis is just if the first read or second read isn't there, it's just kind of panic mode, and it's just very late in the down, bad decisions. So I think they'll look a little bit different, but again, if you just watch those plays in isolation, you'd say, okay, these are all bad. I think Cam Ward, though, has a better opportunity to make big plays to offset those. So, Josh Allen has a lot of these plays. Josh Allen still has the low light reel for Josh Allen is still horrendous. If you just want to highlight his worst 15 or 20 plays per season, they're awful. But he has 100 great ones, so you live with that. Will Levis never had enough of those to offset the bad. And I think Cam Ward has enough of the special plays, rolling to his left against Louisville, hitting a guy 35 yards in the back of the end zone, 60-yard bombs to against Cal behind the defense when you have a nice speed receiver that you can take advantage of. I think there are enough special plays to Cam Ward's game that it offsets some of those hero ball plays. The other thing I'll say, with Levis, I think some of the bad plays festered, right? You can almost see him thinking, overthinking, and then in the second half of the season saying, okay, don't make those plays. And then he would take 8 sacks in a game, right? With Cam Ward, my favorite thing about him, I think, is the amnesia. Back when I was pitching, I had a pitching coach. He said, you got to have amnesia, right? You give up a bomb and you forget it. Cam Ward had the crossbody interception against Florida, against Cal, some bad plays against Virginia Tech, but he always bounced back from those plays. And he kept that same aggressiveness. And so I love that about Cam Ward. There'll be some bad ones, but he'll bounce back and make up for them. So I think that's another huge difference in Cam Ward's game versus Will Levis's.
Steve Palazzolo of the 33rd team. You get the full conversation wherever you download podcasts. I do think that's something Titans fans will like to hear, that just because their new quarterback also makes some mistakes does not mean that he's your old quarterback.
Yeah, and I know, Ramone, I don't know what you think about this, but I was just going to say real quick, it's a really good way to lay it out how Steve did, because he laid it out in 2 different parts. And it was funny because Will and I had spoke about that earlier yesterday, and Steve kind of confirmed both of our points, with the first one being, he is one of those guys that I think when he has those low moments, they're made up for because he has such high moments, and he can also put the team on his back and win a game in a situation like that. He also has the quote unquote nervous system that I believe Callahan always has been bringing up when it came to what he wants in a quarterback, where he can reset, something that, again, he mentioned Will Levis in multiple situations could not really do, even when he had the chance to come back and be the starter. So I thought that was really well laid out by Palazzolo, because I do think there are people worried about Cam Ward in the turnover situation. And look, no doubt he needs to clean some of that up. That's something he has to do, but I don't think it's comparable necessarily to Will Levis's turnover.
The issue that Levis had is he had a great game against the Falcons. It's his biggest issue. He had a phenomenal, hey, welcome to the NFL moment against the Atlanta Falcons because everybody believed that was him, and I think he did also. And I think the way he played after that and having the ability to start the season off as the guy made him believe that was how it was going to be every weekend. And that's where it became, I think, very problematic for him. The consistency of playing that position, of making those types of plays, has to be more than just a surprising element of your game. Like, it has to be your game. And Steve was right. Man, it's been times where quarterbacks I've blocked for, it was their fault on the sacks. It was their fault. And we get blamed for it, right? Or it was, hey, that quarterback missed missed a wide open receiver. But to be able to back that up with big X plays, to be able to back that up with game-winning drives is how you forgive those types of things. Like, you never judge your teammates a certain type of way because of turnovers or because of sacks or because of bad penalties. Like, everybody's going to have those moments. Turnovers, we always say, aren't bad. Sacks aren't bad. Drops aren't bad. But it's a matter of, do you have moments to where we can forget about that? Like coaches said all the time, like, how much money do you have saved up in my emotional data bank? That allows you to survive in the league. That means game-winning drives. That means, hey, 3rd and 2, and you're able to strike down the field for a 70-yard bomb. Like, those things matter, and he's right. That's something that Will Levis hasn't possessed in his time in being a starter, except for the Atlanta Falcons game. He never followed it up. And to Cam Ward's point, like, that's what you want out of a guy, is having the ability to, I said it, I think we talked about it earlier this week, or I said it to somebody else. Like, he has what you like to say sometimes. Like, some guys have that winner's gene where in the locker room they can be playing hoops into a garbage can or just randomly pick up a pool stick and they can win. Like, that's what you want out of guys. I've seen dudes possess that, and they're usually good at other things because I think it's because of the nervous system. Their ability to always want to compete and having a mindset that no matter what, I'm going to win. And it becomes risky at times, though.
It was difficult to see that in Will Levis in college because he didn't really win a lot of games at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
It's so? I heard you guys speaking about that yesterday a little bit. Like that. How much does that play a part? Because to say Cam Ward had big games, you can't say he had big games. Like, he beat Florida.
Yeah, the best team he beat last year was, nobody great.
So, all right. So
Syracuse? No, he didn't beat Syracuse.
So if we don't speak about the big games, right, like the big night games and stuff like that, because they're rivals in Florida is what? Miami they play. They are Miami. Florida State, Florida, and that's it, I guess, as far as the rivals go. And I think they won most of those matchups. So if he didn't have the big game, what he did have was big moments. Like coming back and beating Cal is some things that he did. Louisville game, he did that. At Kentucky, like, this is why Vols fans, for as crazy as y'all say we are, this is something that a lot of people have pointed out as it pertains to Levis. He and that program never had those types of moments.
His best win was Louisville. Cam Ward's.
Will Levis's?
No, I'm talking
Cam
about
Ward's.
Cam Ward's.
Yeah,
Cam Ward's best win was Louisville, 52-45.
But we can't even say that about Will Levis. Right? As far as like his school and his wins and the moments that he had there, because I thought Will Levis's biggest stage that he had in college was his senior year going to Oxford and playing Ole Miss. And he was supposed to be the guy. And you saw, like, I continually go back to that tape.
That was when my opinion changed on him. I'm
Yes.
like, this guy's not a top 5 pick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I remember watching that game specifically being like, oh no.
And because, like, what you saw from Kentucky was this, man.
fair.
They went and put the ball in Will Levis's hands.
They did. And he went 18 of 24 for 220 yards and 9 carries for -19.
And turnovers in that game, too, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like he had, like, a fumble on the ground or something like that happened.
I don't think so.
It was just...
If he had fumbles, that's not on Football Reference, but he didn't have any picks.
It was obvious in that game that he couldn't get his team over the hump, is the way I felt about Will Levis in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, besides the Falcons, what other situation as the Tennessee Titans has he made you feel like he can get us over the hump? And I think that's what Steve is saying also, that you expect Cam Ward to possess. The ability to get you over the hump to win games. I never felt like that last year with Will Levis. Oh, they're only down by 7. There's an opportunity to get back in the game. Like, there's a feel when you have a guy like that.
Yeah.
It's more of a meltdown with Will Levis
meltdown.
than I've seen with Cam Ward, and again, it is a different level, but what I've seen with Levis at this level is when everything is on his shoulders to get something done, it's almost like he not backs down, but he gets into his own head. It becomes more of a meltdown for him. Whereas Cam Ward in his college history, when he's got to be the one that steps up to the plate, I feel like he's got more of that, you said, quote unquote, gene, where you just go out and you know what the mission is and you do it, right? I know that sounds stupid, but if you just go and watch the film compared to Will Levis, even in college, in moments like that, you do get a different feel of how those two play and even the types of turnovers that happen between the two. I just think experience goes a long way, you guys, and not everyone's made for the NFL, even that has experience playing in college, that have played a lot of games. Not everything transitions to that, but I do believe that experience, if we're just comparing Cam Ward and Will Levis, I just think it's night and day from how you're going to be prepared for the NFL level. And Will Levis could get that way 3 years down the road with his second team. Oh. But right now, Will Levis is still learning a lot about how to play football.
So Will Levis beat Louisville in 2022. His final stat line was 11 of 19 for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. So not exactly setting the world on fire that season. And then you go back to Levis's 2021 season with Liam Cohen as his offensive coordinator. And against Louisville, again, big game, 14 of 18, 149 yards.
14 of 18, 100.
4 rushing touchdowns, though.
Okay.
113 yards rushing in that game. There's one similarity between Will Levis and Cam Ward. It is a number. When you look at their stats, their last seasons as quarterbacks, Will Levis played 11 games in 2022, 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 65% completion, a passer rating of 99.1. Cam Ward was better in pretty much every single category. 13 games, 4,313 yards, 39 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, 67% completion, 119 passer rating. Here's the one area where they're similar. Turnover-worthy plays. 3.6% for Will Levis, 3.3% for Cam Ward. The amount of their plays that were turnover-worthy in their last seasons in college. Here's the difference, though, between how they got there. Steve Palazzolo just said it. The number is similar. The way they get to that number is not. Will Levis is missing on progressions in the pocket many times, or he is rolling out and flipping it to the other team. It's the only thing that he and Cam Ward have in common is when they improvise and just hand the football to the other team and play the quote-unquote hero ball. I don't see as many mistakes in making turnover-worthy throws in the pocket for Cam Ward. I see him trying to do too much and oftentimes overcooking it and then turning it over at the end of improvising. But if you want Cam Ward to be Cam Ward and you want the good moments of him improvising, you're always going to have to live with some of that. And that's just the way it's going to have to be here. As long as he does the good things, then you can live with a couple of those a week or a couple of those, a month, things like that.
And yes, he did. Will Levis, 2 fumbles at Ole Miss game.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that on the stats that I had, but I
found the box score on ESPN. Yeah. 2 fumbles in that game right there. And with the game on the line, too. But yes, you're right. It's the same situation I'm speaking of right here in that game. Game on the line. He has to go. He doesn't complete the way you want him to. Yeah. To whereas Cam had numerous times, even last year, that they were down and
the
had
Duke
to find
game,
ways
the Cal
to win.
Game, yeah, he found a way.
Found a way.
Against some bad ACC defenses, to be fair. But he found a way to beat him. He gets credit for beating him when he didn't have a defense either.
Yep.
615-737-1045. Your reaction on the other side. The Preds last night were animated. And cartoon UC Saros maybe shouldn't be a net anymore.
Oh, no.
We'll talk about it next.
It's Ramone Foster, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, man. They've been around here since 1990, and the cool part, they are family-owned and operated. Jimmy Hiller was recently named the most admired CEOs, and it's because of how he truly cares for his team and the clients that he serves. Hiller takes care of the customer on every job, every single time, and they stand behind their work. The slogan is, happy you'll be or the service is free. It's that simple. If a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right, man. They always send their professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians to come into your home. They always leave it better and cleaner than they found it. Other cool part about Hiller is this, the true transparency pricing. This means this for you homeowners out there, is everything can be a little bit more expensive these days. Every part of their job is lined up out front, okay? Homeowners understand what they're paying for and the why. There are no hidden fees, no added costs, no surprises when you get your bill. Simply what you ask for is what you get and what you pay for, nothing extra. To book with Hiller or just simply learn more about them, visit happyhiller.com.
RKW is brewed by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Make sure you download the Scooter's Coffee mobile app to save $2 off your first mobile order. Did you guys watch any animated hockey last night on News Channel 5? I did.
It was interesting, to say the least.
Nash was angry a lot.
Yeah, he was. Very angry.
Nash was very angry as the Preds fall 8-4 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. 8-4. Two-point conversion was good by Columbus. Great idea.
Baseball score.
They were very motivational, very positive. Chris Mason was creating a lot of loyalty for younger Preds fans. You know, hey, they've just got to keep their heads up. They've got to keep where. I watched that. I only watched the first period. I can't imagine what it was like when they were scoring the extra point. Man, the Preds are bad.
Yeah.
It is. It is rough. That was talking hockey, but like 8-4.
Look,
Are they in the worst spot of any professional team in Nashville?
I'd say so, just because there's a lot of work that has to be done for them to be better.
And they might still not get the number one pick.
Right. And that's a lottery pick, right?
Yeah,
so,
I
mean, they don't have a 100% chance of getting it. And this is a team that I think had so much promise back in 2017. And, even for the couple years after that, you were like, okay, you can still see this team might be in the mix. They've been making the playoffs. And then, even making the playoffs recently, it hasn't ended up being anything. It was like a first round and you're out type of situation. And now you've completely rolled backwards after signing some big names, some veteran names, and you were supposed to be this on paper competitive team this season. They've had 4 straight losses to, they've still got games left, but in this stretch, they've had 4 straight losses. And this one, 8-4 at home. Like, that's what just gets you is, I don't know anybody who goes to these games now to watch hockey. If anything, it's like an influencer situation, or you're there for the entertainment.
Social situation more than anything.
But it's sad. I'm a hockey fan at heart, and it's sad to see the local team be in such a bad position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess they were really playing around in the hockeyverse last night, then like it was real life. That sucks. Because all we've heard is the changes they were going to make. They were going more offensive, right? The what was it, the penalty shot or whatever it is, kill shot,
power play. Yeah,
power play.
We talked to Philsberg.
That was
sounded cool anyway.
Forsberg at the beginning of the year.
Wasn't that a problem last year? And they was trying to go get guys.
It's been a problem since they made the Stanley Cup final.
It's been an issue.
Yeah, that sucks.
Dante Fabro scored last night for the Blue Jackets.
For the Blue Jackets
to kick the extra point.
Former Pred
scored the 7th goal against them. It's the 6th time this season, per Alex Doherty, the Tennessean, that the Predators have allowed 6 goals in a game.
That's not good.
5 of the 6 have been on the road. And they just signed up UC Saros to a long-term deal worth a lot of money.
What did we all say before that deal? We were all like, we think they need to move on from UC Saros. And what happened after that? They signed him to an 8-year deal.
Hometown heroes are hard to let go of sometimes. That's what gets the butts in the seats sometimes, the familiarity of the people that they know. Clearly, nobody understands or knows this team at all. Even in the cartoon version, Kayla. Did you watch any of it last night? I saw some of them just on social media.
It was on CBS,
you
Channel 5.
That. Yeah, Channel 5.
And Travis, I flipped to it, and I was like, oh, the Blue Jackets, as I used to cover them, and the Preds are playing.
You did? You covered them too?
In Columbus for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
and when they were good, actually, and they're good this year. But it was funny because he goes, this is not on CBS. That's the alternative station.
So Travis sounds like?
Yeah, pretty much. Grumpy Travis.
Don't sound like that.
And I was like, yes, it is CBS. Like, this is what's happening now with local stations. A lot of them are being able to show some of the local teams, whether that be the Braves that were on this weekend on the local station, I believe NBC.
Great
and
TV.
then, obviously the Preds have had some games on CBS. Yeah. This is the life we're living now.
Grizzlies were on NBC last night.
And they were on NBC.
Channel 4.
That is correct.
So I was on Channel 5.
So he was not watching Channel 4.
I was,
Sorry,
I
Channel
was
4.
not in attendance.
He does not like the
Not in
Preds.
attendance. I'm a Channel 2 person anyway.
I'm
Yeah.
still not over gravel voice Travis over here.
Oh yeah, I got voices for everyone. Anytime you guys need me to bring out a voice, I've got Red's voice. Well, Mom.
Your dog? No, we're not.
Oh, Red, don't.
right,
He
to the
doesn't
phone.
speak like that. He barks
Ramone.
and whines.
That is a dog. The dog does not
He's
talk.
my son.
The dog does not talk. He barks. He does not speak.
He could
He
speak.
whines. Kayla gave him a voice.
615-737-1045. Tristan wants to talk about Cam Ward. Hey, Tristan.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yep.
I think Cam Ward, okay, he goes to his right and throws to his left, and it's picked off in the Duke game, California game, and he's a bust. He's a backup in the NFL. Trust me, I know what he is.
How can we trust you? Did you play?
I played high school football, and I saw Will Levis tape, and I caught it. Once Will Levis was drafted, I told you guys that he was a bust. Also, he was he played backup at Penn State. It's no wonder he was a bust in the NFL. And Cam Ward is coming out of played at Washington State, and look at Ryan Leaf. He was drafted.
He had a
number
drug
2
problem,
overall.
by the way.
Yes, I know that, but and none of Miami quarterbacks have ever succeeded in the NFL.
Thank you, Tristan.
You need somebody who's a hard worker.
That's what Cam
will
Ward
put in the-
is.
Thank you, Tristan. We'll talk.
Tristan,
about it.
please
It
call
sounded like
back
he was
when
trolling.
he plays next year. I'd love to hear that. And even if he's bad, I'd love to hear you call back and say, "Hey, I told you so."
Tristan was going in.
Tristan
right
said
there.
he knows. He knows the future.
Tristan said he nothing but a backup
We
Yeah.
have no idea what it'll be.
He said he's Ryan Leaf.
because he came from Washington.
Yeah.
It's hard to really.
There's also other quarterbacks that came there and were
Tristan
successful.
chose violence.
It's hard to know who a guy is going to be just based on the helmet they wear. I don't. A guy 20 years ago wearing the same helmet as a guy 20 years later those two have nothing to do with
Tell
each
you
other.
what, he picked the right one
Nothing to
because
do with each
as
other.
far as he was one way, Kayla's the other way, and I was honestly just waiting for Tristan and Kayla to go at it right
I
there.
love
that was
it.
good.
I mean, just up. Let's go,
But you
Tristan.
could be here all day. We'll just keep
Let's
talking
go,
in
bro.
circles. Coming up, Tim Hasselback has an interesting comparison for Shedeur Sanders on NFL Live. We'll talk about it next.
One word that comes to mind when you think about Genesis Diamonds, integrity, all right? Hear me out. This is a company built on a solid foundation with total transparency and honesty. This is why they don't have commissioned salespeople. They pay their employees, not you, all right? So they aren't under pressure to sell you, and you aren't under pressure to buy. They share with you the long-held secrets of the diamond industry, teaching you tricks to maximize the value of your purchase. They show you how to buy like a dealer buys. Another thing, at Genesis, they don't play the pricing game either. Unlike other jewelers, they work on very small margins, and they don't mark up to mark down prices. They offer the best value price every day. And when they do have a sale, it's the real deal, not a phony event, all right? We're lucky to have Genesis here. They're not another big box corporate chain store at all. They're locally owned, but with international connection that guarantee no middleman pricing on every diamond. And don't forget, only Genesis has the top brand of designer brands that everyone wants. They were handpicked all by the top designers because only Genesis meets the highest standards in quality and customer care that these designers demand. You will love the experience there. Trust me, Genesis Diamonds are located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
7 o'clock, good morning for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Will Bowling. The Tush Push is here to stay for now. 16 teams reportedly supported Green Bay's submission, which would have banned players from immediately pushing the player who receives the snap. That number fell 8 votes short of the minimum needed to change the rules. When the owners gather again in May, it is expected to get more conversation. 6-time Pro Bowl defensive lineman Calais Campbell has finalized a 1-year deal, returning to the Arizona Cardinals for his 18th NFL season. The 1-year deal has a max value of $7.5 million. The 38-year-old was the team's second-round pick in 2008 and played with the Cardinals until 2016. The season-opening nightmare continued yesterday for the Atlanta Braves, who are 0-6 after a 3-1 loss to the 7-0 Dodgers Tuesday night in Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers, meanwhile, are off to MLB's best start for a defending World Series champion since the 1933 New York Yankees of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Brewed up a fresh hour for you of RKW with locations at White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. We are always brewed by Scooters Coffee. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. So Tim Hasselbeck talks on NFL Live this week about Shedeur Sanders. He says the comp that he sees for Shedeur Sanders is Andy Dalton, but he means it as a compliment. Here is the former NFL quarterback and now Innsworth Tigers football coach.
Look, I think I agree with everything Sam said in terms of the strengths of Shedeur Sanders. He is smart. He knows how to play the position. I think where it gets really tricky is like you're talking about rarefied air when you're talking about drafting a guy at the top of the draft. And look, he just is not as physically talented as you would like to see. I mean, it sounds crazy considering he's Deion Sanders' son, but like that's just the case. And so, look, my comp on Shedeur Sanders has kind of been in that like Andy Dalton range. People have compared him to Kirk Cousins. Look, those are compliments. Both of those guys have thrown for over 250 touchdowns through their NFL career. Both of those guys have led teams to the playoffs. But when you're talking about the top half of round one, look, again, you're looking for elite traits, and he just doesn't have those. Now, look, you're going to have to beat the market at quarterback, so you're going to have to draft a rookie quarterback at some point because of what's happened with the Deshaun Watson deal.
So that is Tim Hasselbeck at NFL Live yesterday. If Shedeur Sanders is Andy Dalton, where do you pick him in the NFL draft?
If he's Andy Dalton, there's two. I guess it's two scenarios. One, where is he slated as far as QB rankings? Number one, where is he also slated as far as being a first round talent? All right, now we got to speak about needs at that point. Again, you never want to be in a position of needs. If you're telling me he's Andy Dalton and that's his floor that he starts at right now, that's the other part of it too. Is he Andy Dalton at his peak?
I think he's at his best. At his best. I don't think that's his floor comparison.
So here's the thing then. Andy Dalton was a high value pick that Cincinnati ended up having. Low value, high outcome pick that they ended up getting out of him. When he took over as the starter in 2011, they were third in AFC North. Within 2 years, they won the AFC North with Andy Dalton as the starting quarterback.
And in that season, he threw for 4,200 yards.
Yep.
I'm going to be real. Sign me up for that. Here's also what I will say about that 2013 team that they were on. They had some dudes and some guys and some studs, too. I don't want to make it seem like it was Andy Dalton that fully did that, but Andy Dalton did not hurt that team. Andy Dalton also helped generate, wins for that squad, too. And you're telling me, Will, in 2013, he threw for 4,200 yards. When was the last time a Tennessee Titan quarterback has done that? So you hear the name and you see the success that they had. I think there was I saw this. I had a first row and front row ticket to the Andy Dalton show, okay? there was fearful things that he had in his game. He also had some stuff that became very obvious as far as his self-study of himself that we somewhat exposed at times, like the way he took the snap, the way he made certain plays. And they, as a team, as a franchise, I don't think ever corrected that to take him to another level. Now, it goes down to Marvin Lewis. Again, his defense screwing him over by running out of the stadium into the locker room when there was still time left on the clock. That wasn't an Andy Dalton issue, right? He made Pro Bowlers out of guys. He had one hell of a wide receiver in A.J. Green. The Titans don't have that. So, with that being said, I'm not opposed to an Andy Dalton comp. I know a lot of people want to believe you're picking the number 1 overall pick. Yeah, it does matter. But here's what matters more. What works for your system and how you surround that guy. I think I heard Lucas and Bert yesterday speaking about the tiring conversation of who makes who as far as wide receivers and quarterbacks. And that's where a lot of this comes into play. I feel like you have to have a quarterback that can administer the ball to you, but you got to have the talent to receive it on the other end. Yeah. They do work hand in hand.
I think I look at this as where should he go if you're being compared to Andy Dalton. Well, let's first of all share where Andy Dalton went in that 2011 draft. It was 35th overall in the second round. So technically he wasn't even a first rounder. Like Ramone mentioned, though, he started off his career very well in Cincinnati and almost, was at the ceiling from the start because he never really pushed through the ceiling, but he did enough to lead his team to 5 consecutive playoff appearances. Of course, you mentioned, though, A.J. Green's such a good piece for him there. I do think Marvin Lewis, I think they kind of kept him too long in Cincinnati and were okay with just making the playoffs and not getting over the hump. I wouldn't put that all on Andy Dalton either because I do think that he was a good enough quarterback to win games for you. And if they would have continued to help him out, and the team, they would have maybe gotten a little bit further than what they did with that ceiling being not enough for Cincinnati to get to a Super Bowl. But I will say with Shedeur Sanders, he's not a second-round pick. Like, he is the second best quarterback, in my opinion, in this draft. I don't think he falls further than 6th. And I do think it could take a little more time.
You don't think Shedeur does? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Shedeur should fall further than 6. And I do think, though, he might have to have a little more time developing because of the teams that he's going to right now.
Middle of the first round for me is the answer on where you pick him if he's Andy Dalton. I'm not using a number 1 pick. I'm not using a top 5 pick. It's not a diss to him. I think Andy Dalton was a good NFL quarterback. But if that's what I'm getting, then I maybe would use pick 15 to 20 on him. And that's what I'm guaranteed to have in Shedeur Sanders. Because that is a guy you're going to have always have good pieces around in order to be successful. And that is what I have said about Shedeur Sanders from the very beginning. I think there is a world where he is successful. I think he's going to have to live in a really good world for that to happen. I think he's going to have to go somewhere like L.A. I think he's going to have to land somewhere that with a sitting starting quarterback today where he can be sat and developed over time and become that guy long term.
Why can't that be the Giants this year? Because they have 2 quarterbacks that are veterans.
That's not a established starting quarterback. Like, I'm thinking a place like Derek Carr with New Orleans. I'm thinking a place with a proven play caller that can develop a quarterback. The Giants also don't have good pieces around Shedeur Sanders if he goes there, and they consistently ruin quarterbacks. To me, if I'm Shedeur Sanders, I'm looking at L.A. and I'm looking at the Rams as the spot to go
there.
But I don't think the Rams can afford to use that high of draft capital on a quarterback when they have got an aging quarterback themselves in a window that appears to be closing.
And then they
with Matthew Stafford.
Jimmy G also right behind that too.
Well,
there's a pathway to that. I personally don't think Shedeur goes further than 21 to Pittsburgh.
I agree.
If he does,
I think that would work for him too.
I don't see him going that much further than that, simply because there's a need in Pittsburgh to get one.
But there's no quarter. But he just said
Aaron
there
Rodgers
needs to be a quarterback there.
Aaron Rodgers will probably end up
Russell
being the guy.
Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are in the same part of their career.
Rodgers has probably got 1 year left.
He's just saying he can't go to the Giants behind Russell Wilson.
Well, the Giants and the Steelers are not the same place.
Yeah,
but
Giants
there's been
have
offensive problems with the Steelers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's because of Russ. I felt like last year,
But that's
that
not a
quarterback.
They're not
play.
picking third for a reason though. Like that's a good organization.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not
The
saying
Giants
that.
are not.
I was just putting your points on the offense and who to be sitting behind.
It's for me.
There's a lot of points to it. It's not just that.
Yeah. The point for me as far as Shedeur is concerned is his supporting cast. I do think it's going to play a lot. Like, you think about this. What he was able to do at Colorado as far as the yards. One, either they were behind or he just didn't have the talent team allows him to do certain things. Like, I'm looking at where Andy Dalton was when he finally had his spark. Like, the guys that he had to work with was elite. A.J. Green, Giovanni Bernard, Marvin Jones had a good year. Mohamed Sanu, Jermaine Gresham, Tyler Eifert. Like, that to me is the luxury of not being picked in like the top 10. Is you go to better teams with better parts around you to help lend you a better successful career. I think that's the biggest thing with most guys. Like, the moment, here's a point of it too. Like, the moment you have a good season, you're solidified. Like, you look at like Brock Purdy's ascension to like to where he is right now. And on the other side of that, look at what Bryce Young's was. Right? Bryce had a bad year, so everybody started questioning the stuff that he was able to do. And now it's gotten back better. Like, when you jump out and have a good year, everything else is settled because your good attributes, people can build off of that. Yeah. I think that's why we got a little trick here with Levis and his. It was a smaller sample size. I think in that moment that we should have paid more attention to and how he got that out of the Falcons game.
The simplest way I can put it is I don't see Shedeur Sanders going to a loser and turning them into a winner. I think he's going to have to go to a winner and build upon that moving forward.
Yeah, I just think if he can sit for at least a year under wherever he's going, I think that's beneficial no matter what, as long as you're sitting behind a veteran and they continue to draft. Like you were mentioning New York. I mean, no talent. I mean, they got Malik Neighbors.
I didn't say
He's
they had no talent. I said they're a loser franchise.
They are right now. They are, yeah. But they're doing everything to get back on track as well. And part of that plan, just like the Titans, is to try to get a quarterback at some point, right?
Well, you could ask Will Levis though. One 1,000-yard receiver doesn't make you good. They have Malik Neighbors, but what else do they have?
I mean,
they have Andrew Thomas at left tackle. Okay, I mean,
I love
Evan Neal is one of the worst offensive linemen in football. Like, they have got a lot to build back up, and they are the number 3 team in the draft order for a reason.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to start this year. I was just saying I could see that being the case where if you wanted to take a chance and you did like what Shedeur brought you, you take a chance on him now because you have somebody he can sit behind. That's all I'm saying.
615-737-1045. There is a prospect that made major waves this week. When a video surfaced of him saying, I don't watch football, I don't like watching film, and I don't watch football by myself. We'll get the former player's perspective and our perspective on that coming up next.
It's Ramone Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Good people, man. They have a deal going on right now to have my seal of approval. It could change your life, too. It's the Behind the Lines offer. It's a $37 consultation that includes a doctor's visit, x-rays if you need them, and your first treatment. If you need more in-depth treatment because you're a part of the Zone family, they will give you 50% off spinal decompression treatment. It's that simple. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Asher just want you to get better. It's what they do. They have some of the best technology I've seen around. I told you guys, I went to my university and saw how their weight room looked. I'm telling you this. You walk in, you have no option but to be impressed with them. They have lasers there, state-of-the-art spinal decompression, and even their zero-gravity machines where they will lay you back. I did it myself. Trust me, it can be life-changing for you. The same with me. So start your road to a pain-free life, and it is possible. Call today, the Wellness Institute of Nashville, at 615-246-5009, or go to painisbad.com.
Hey, it's Will Bowling. Are you looking to check your items off some home to-do list this spring? Hey, we all have those lists, right? Things that aren't working the way they're supposed to around the house, things that we need cleaned, set up properly. We're having people over. The weather's nicer. Maybe you're just freshening up your home's look before hosting friends and family as the weather warms up. Well, available 24/7, 365, the Lee Company handyman professionals have you covered. From pressure washing your driveway or deck to drywall repairs, landscape lining, painting, and more, Lee Company's all you need. Just visit Lee Company online at leecompany.com to schedule your appointment today. That's online at leecompany.com or call them at 615-567-1000. With over 80 years of experience, trusted since 1944, Lee Company will take care of things quickly and efficiently for you when you call them at 615-567-1000, online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. RKW Brew by Scooters Coffee continues at hour 2 this morning. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we'll be joined by Belmont Athletic Director Scott Corley ahead of Belmont women's basketball in the WBIT Championship tonight, the women's NIT tournament. And then later in the show, Rhett Bryan at 9 o'clock. Your phone call, 615-737-1045. So Teteroa McMillan, Arizona wide receiver, has made headwaves by saying 2 years ago that he doesn't love watching film and he doesn't watch football. This was the Arizona wide receiver in spring 2023 in a video filmed after his freshman year.
And I know I've been talking about this guy. I've been saying, if he's there at 25, get him. He gets to 21. I flipped on him. And one thing made me flip. And I got video evidence to show you why I flipped on him. It's Tet McMillan from the offseason talking about, well, you'll see.
You don't watch football? At all?
At all.
Is it hard to watch film then if you don't like watching football?
Yeah.
For real? That's crazy.
I don't like watching film either. I don't ever need to watch it by myself because we go over as a receiver group.
So that is Teteroa McMillan, 2023. As a 19-year-old after his freshman year. How big of a red flag is that?
None.
Really?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not. Not even. It can be perceived as one if you want it to be one. If you're looking for a reason to knock him, easily a red flag. Publicly seeing that pop up, red flag, right? But here's the thing. As a teenager, most people are playing basketball, baseball, football. They got girls on their mind. They socializing. Heck, in his era, there's social media going around. Probably working a job. Probably just chilling. It's not a red flag. If he has that same mindset. Now, it's a little bit different. Here's the thing. At 19 years old, he's just not getting to college. Heck, I didn't know how to watch film. Only time I watched film was when my coaches put it on, too. My wife continuously tell me from time to time, you lied to me. I was like, what? You lied to me. When we met, you said you didn't watch football the way you watch football now. And I didn't. I did not. I spent more of my time watching stuff that I wanted to see and what I liked. I loved playing football. I loved the game. I loved competing. I loved the fact that I was good at it. I loved all of that. And I just did it. I didn't understand what film was. Most guys don't. I'll say this, the stuff that I was interested in, back then, I am no longer. I love football now. I absolutely love watching and breaking down tape. I absolutely love the art of figuring out what this guy's strengths are, what this guy's weaknesses are. You know what also does that? Playing more football. Also, at that point in time in 19, he probably didn't understand how big of a dream it was for him, or how big of a goal it was for him to make it to the NFL. What got me more interested in football? Embarrassment and coaches. If I didn't want to be embarrassed and I enjoyed playing football, I was going to watch film. And when I started to watch it, I loved it. So much so that I'll say this, and it's probably one of the reasons why we were 5-7 my senior year. Our film guy at the time had a feeling guys weren't watching the CDs, DVDs, disc that he were passing out for film. Well, at the end of the tape that he had broken down for us, it was, if you made it to the end of this tape, come to the video room. I got $20 for you. You know how many people made it to the end of the tape? Me.
Nice.
Because guys don't watch tape like that. This isn't a red flag situation. The guys that take it serious learn how to watch tape. The guys that take it serious end up changing their stuff over. Again, my biggest interest back then was dumb comedy movies, scary movies, Nat Geo, and Discovery Channel. Like, that's how I spent my downtime. Again, this grows over time. Now, if you see it show up from time to time to where he's not studying tape like that, it's different. And here's the other side of it, too. Depending on where you are from, like, you grow up with a different mindset. Marquise Pouncey knows everything about the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Miami Dolphins, his high school guys, the legend that was around him, because their culture was a little bit different in Florida. Like, he grew up in a place where football is life. Heck, I think if you go to Texas, it's like that too. You go to Georgia, it's probably like that too. You know those things. So if you want to knock them, you can. But this is normal for a lot of people that are playing the sport that are learning to study film and to how to be better football players. This isn't a bad rap. This isn't a bad thing for me with Tet McMillan. And I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of his. I say that because a lot of guys deal with this.
Yeah. Ted is from, obviously, he is originally from Hawaii, right? And he went to high school from in California. But Hawaii,
even more so.
There is actually a huge football presence in Hawaii at St. Louis High School in particular. He did not go to St. Louis. He actually went to high school in California. But I will say this about it. When you listen to that and you maybe didn't know it was from 2 years ago, you're immediately like, whoa, wait a second. He's 3 years into his college career. He's in the draft now. There's going to be an NFL team that takes him, and he is showing that much disinterest in watching film. I don't care about the watching football in his off time. A lot of football players don't necessarily want to watch football when they don't have to in terms of games. But the film part, when he said it so nonchalant, of I don't need to watch film because we watch it as a team or we watch it as a wide receiver group. Me personally as a coach, I wouldn't want to hear that. However, this was 2 years ago, and 19 years old, to your point, Ramone, you're just getting into college. You don't know how it is at college in terms of how much you maybe need to watch outside of just your wide receiver room or whatever, and how important it is going to be at the next level to make that jump. He's naturally gifted athlete. We know that. But you did see his numbers also spike from that freshman year of 700 yards to 1,300 yards, some plus, and then 1,400 this last year. I do believe he probably watched a little bit more film and was probably told, hey, look, you can't just not study if you want to be great. I don't know him personally. I've heard stories of, he's a diva wide receiver, but that's what good wide receivers, some of them are. I'd say hold the brakes on this to at least know what he does now. Nobody's come out and asked him now, at least in the public, do you still hate to watch film? So I hate to look back at something 2 years ago and say that's a red flag and hold that against him in this year's draft. I have to pause for a second. If at least I'm an NFL team, I'll ask those questions and see what his answer is now. But I can't make a judgment 2 years ago on what a young 19-year-old said. That's not fair.
Yeah, how much did you change, Ramone, from your freshman year to your senior year in terms of how much you watched film?
So much more. And it's because, like he said, they watch a lot of film. Well, we watch a lot of film in football. That's all it is. You go from one big meeting to a smaller meeting watching film.
That's true.
Then you go back to another meeting and watch more film as an offensive or defensive unit. And what happens in those moments is if he doesn't know something, you're going to get embarrassed. You're going to get cussed out. You're going to feel so small as an athlete, as big as you are, or how big of an athlete you were or player you were in your high school. So, it changed for me, Will, because I wanted to play. Mm-hmm. My ability to make plays was predicated on what tape I watch and how I study, too. And this is even in practice. This is one thing I told the offensive line yesterday, scout your defense. And that's what has to happen, too, for guys like him. Like you said, he made a jump, Kayla, in his stats. Mm-hmm. To be real with you, that was probably just athletically, potentially. But after a point, when you're serious about your craft, you will get to a point to where the film study becomes before you eat, you're going to go watch. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
It is
when you don't have an athletic advantage over the DBs you're playing against. Mm-hmm. You have to have some sort of advantage.
That's it.
He's not had the need to watch film as much because he is more athletic than 99.9% of the people he's playing against. He's better.
Easily.
He just has to be willing to do that now when you make the jump to the next level.
I do think it's a yellow flag. I don't think it's a red flag. I think it's something, if I'm a general manager, if I'm a wide receivers coach, I'm asking him in a top 30 visit, or I'm talking about in meetings, because let's be honest, guys get asked questions about a lot less important things
right
in their meetings and things like that. If there's any scenario out there, unlikely one, but if there's any scenario where he falls to you at number 35, would you pick him?
If he fell to me?
To the Titans?
I've already been
35th
a fan of him.
overall
Yes, I'm
pick?
taking him, 100%.
I don't think that's going to happen, for what it's worth.
Yes.
But we've seen crazier falls happen, and things like this always have the potential to hurt players. That's why it's pretty unfortunate for him, because this might have lost him a couple $1 million. The fact that this video came out. I do think if there's any position that doesn't need to watch as much film, it's that one.
Mm-hmm.
I will agree, because they dictate.
It's wide receiver.
Yes, they dictate more than
sometimes
others.
you're just that guy. there are plenty of alpha wide receivers out there who I 100% believe are not film junkies. You are just athletically a freak, and you can catch the football from so many different radiuses and points, and you're big and strong and athletic. Like, I'm not saying wide receivers don't need to watch film, but everyone needs a diva wide receiver on a good football team. And that's part of being a good football team, is managing personalities and understanding how to put different personalities in human beings in the best position to be successful. Rarely can it just never work. I believe there is enough good in all these people, because there are still elite athletes, and they wouldn't have made it this far if they were lazy, people that just didn't care. The Isaiah Wilsons are still out there, but odds are, even guys with yellow flags, you can work with them and put them with a plan to be successful and get around those weaknesses if you care enough to.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, like, care enough. You mentioned the wide receiver position in general. Like, there's probably some guy that played wide receiver going to call and correct me, but you're right. As far as like their cues and what they have to read and see, they go through it in practice for the most part. So, hey, if he's dropping, this is your option. Like the option routes that you have, most times because wide receivers know those, they're not going to break those rules. They're going to go to find themselves open and make plays. That is one of the main positions, like you said, that you can dictate what the defense is going to do to you more times than not, especially if you're elite, because more times than not, wide receivers can have the jump on DBs and make them do what they want them to do, in a sense. Like, it's rare that you have a DB that's going to jam you at the line of scrimmage, that's going to change everything about your route. Now, those guys are elite. Those dudes have islands named after them, okay? Revis Island. Like, those types of situations like that happen. But for him, being as big as he is and where he's coming from, and also his school has a lot of, like, alumni. Equanimous, how do you say his last? St. Brown. They went to that high school, too. So the pedigree is there. And it also probably speaks on the program that they have, considering those types of guys have gone through there. He probably bodied a lot of guys. So going to Arizona, also, not just cream of the, just the top echelon of college sports as far as football goes, he was the man. So at that time at 19, cocky as hell, I think he was gaming also while he was talking. Sure. So that tells you what his interests are. Yellow flag, all right, yeah, I'll give you that. But the first thing I'm asking him when he walks into the room, tell me about this coverage right here. What would you do?
Right.
Like, that's where you're getting exposed at.
Sure.
Right. And that's why I don't think, if you're a team that really is legit sold on him, I think you've done all your due diligence of all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you do top 30 visits. That's what you do when you go to the combine and you talk to these guys. And even if it is about the diva wide receiver thing, which, again, that's not a bad thing. It's not just because you're labeled as that does not mean that you're not good for the team. Mm-hmm. So all those questions, I'm sure, have been asked by teams that are really, truly vetting him. And if they see a red flag, then they can call the red flag themselves. But I'm not going to go listen to a thing from 2 years ago and make my decision on if I'm going to take that guy or not at number 7 or 8, right? Just an example of where he might go.
Again, this isn't a process of bigging you up. They're not propping you up. They're finding ways to knock you down.
Absolutely.
Whoever found that video, I can't even say shame on you, because it's out there. But that's a bad take.
And the guy was like, I'm turning my thoughts around on this guy just from a video of him when he was 19.
Yeah, 3HL has a drop. That is so dumb. Like, that's how I feel about them. That is so dumb.
And diva wide receivers win rings. AJ Brown just got one.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You love to have that here. I'd love to watch that again.
Do you think the new generation of football players, though, likes football less than previous generations?
No. That's a hard take that a lot of people want to make.
That's why I asked.
Absolutely
it's interesting.
not. Heck no.
I think we have more access to people's opinions of what they do in their free time. I think guys have always had other hobbies and other interests. I just think now we know more about it.
Yeah.
To where we build a bridge to say, well, these guys, if they're sitting courtside at NBA games, they just don't love football. If they paint their fingernails, they just don't love football. Like, it's some of the same kind of coding we had with Caleb Williams last year, to say that because there's a little bit of a different personality, they're not a football guy.
Yeah.
That, to me, doesn't add up. We just know more about personalities because we have social media and we have more media availabilities and we have more opportunities to pick these guys apart as human beings. I think there have always been players since the beginning of time that played football but didn't love watching football.
Some are just that good to get by with that, too. Like, that's the other part of it also. Some dudes, it's just tying their shoes up is as good as they are at football. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's what they do. But it's also funny, too, where you bring that up is like guys going out or like going to games and events. Like, it's fascinating. Like, depending on what extracurricular activity you do, you're judged differently because guys can go, and all guys do this, but hunt or fish or golf or
hunt hogs.
Yeah, hunt hogs. And you're considered a football guy, right?
Right.
Fortunately, he couldn't hunt footballs.
If you have certain hobbies, you're seen as more of a dude.
Of a dude.
Yeah.
But that can also, in my opinion, be looked at, man, you're time wasting. You need to be running. You need to be lifting. You need to be jumping and doing something to make yourself better as a football player. But the perception of hunting is way different, or archery or whatever you want to call it. Like going to the gun range is way different than the guy that sits around and wants the game. And in their mind, like those dudes, that's their escape from the game, because Shedeur McMillan like brought that up. Like there's so much film that's watched, like you gotta have an escape. If you go home, well, I'll say this to the people that have an issue with this: if you think guys go home and just put the tape on every single day of every hour that they're not practicing, you're wrong. I'll say this, though. I expect my quarterback to have an ounce of that specifically soon as mini camp starts up and as soon as training camp goes. Like, what are you doing to advance your mental skills? Like, that, to me, is a different conversation. Or a quarterback during the course of the season. Like, that's your life at that point. Off season, nah, we're good.
Yeah, off season, I think it's healthier to get away from that. I mean, to be completely honest, in this day and age for football players, when you're surrounded by football pretty much every day of the year, to get away from it for a minute and go do some of those things, I actually think that's quite healthy. During the season, do you want your guys to be watching as much film as possible? Sure. But that is also, I think, player by player. I really do feel like some people naturally just have the ability to be that good. They're physically that imposing. But other guys maybe need to work a little bit more at it. You should know at that point, though, as a player, when you reach the league, where you lie in those two categories.
Yeah, because a certain guy in particular, like Michael Parsons, like his exposure he has on that podcast, how he basically speaks directly after games, that to me is a bigger distraction than anything that they have going on. But you know the difference in Michael Parsons? He gets on the field and ball.
He's super smart.
He goes and ball. But I question some of his smartness sometimes with the stuff he says.
It's almost like
there.
He can be so smart that he's stupid in terms of basic things. Not stupid, but doesn't say the right things.
Yeah, so that's I mean. To be honest, I think it's business with him. I'm not sure what he's been paid for the podcasting that he's doing, but sometimes directly after the game, you shouldn't probably do podcasts.
Say some of those things.
Again, if you ball, Kayla, nothing else matters. And that's where I am with Shedeur McMillan, too. If he comes into Nashville and he balls, we're going to talk about this? Absolutely not. This is a process of saying how much we can knock you right now. And there's probably a team happy that video got out. Yeah. And there's also teams, too. You guys got to think like they're forensic scientists with how they do this pre-draft stuff. They know about this. And I guarantee as much fuss was brought about James Pierce that nobody knows exactly what it is, they know about Shedeur McMillan.
Yep.
Like, they know every single thing. So that's probably the first thing that he was asked when he walked into the building.
Honestly, I would agree.
And he got put up on the whiteboard. Heck, we're hearing we're hearing Brian Callahan say that about Shedeur and also Cam Ward. Let's put you up on the whiteboard, see what you know. Like, you say too much, they're going to ask you, why do you know that? I never forget when I started speaking about, like, safeties and watching the secondary at tackle when I was coming out, the coaches went so in-depth as far as the pre-draft. Like, why? How can you see this? You sure you should be paying attention to this? Why do you know this? And you have to really give them breakdowns. Well, if this guy dropped down, that guy's dropping. And his guy, like, there's a lot that goes into it.
It's like a test.
It is a test. Every single thing that you do on these visits and these conversations is a test.
Coming up, there is a major coaching change in college basketball yesterday. I think Texas A&M has the opportunity to do the funniest thing possible. And we'll talk about that next.
It's Ramone Foster for Low T Center. Hey, fellas, if you are over 40, listen up to me, 40, all right? If you're running low on energy or just feeling off, lowtcenter.com is where you need to go. Get started with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, and join lots of guys who are going through the same thing as you, man. Listen, the convenience of it. Around the city right now, there's numerous places you can go to. You can walk in, see a real medical provider, and get your energy back. No complicated process, just results. And guys, tell me, what sets low T apart from everybody else, man, is this tailor made just for you. It's that simple. And also, it's affordable. Through April, you can get a free consultation. And if you qualify, treatment is covered by most insurance. It's an affordable way to check your testosterone and kickstart your life. So don't wait, man. If you're feeling off, tired, no energy, take action now. So head over to lowtcenter.com and book your appointment. That's Low T Center. Simple, quick, and totally worth it.
Look, the anger and the pettiness of college sports is why we love it. And there is an opportunity for one team to do the funniest thing possible in college basketball. It's RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee, 615-737-1045. So Buzz Williams is doing that thing again, where he wins for a couple years at a program, then goes to a new program about 5 years later. 6-year deal to go to Maryland to be the new head coach of the Terps, Buzz Williams. Texas A&M's first call, I promise you, guys, I promise you, is to Chris Beard at Ole Miss. I promise you. Trev Alberts has the opportunity to take all that money, all that oil money, all that Buc-ee's money, all your beaver nuggets that you've had every time you've stopped at a Buc-ee's is going to go to try to lure Chris Beard away from Ole Miss. I just promise you. I don't know if he's going to say yes. I don't know if it's going to happen. The way Texas A&M's little brotherhood to Texas, and fans out there listening, you might call in and get mad at me, but you know it's true. You are little brother to Texas, and you try to get one over on them every time you can. I think it'd be hilarious.
And this is funny, too.
It would be totally hilarious.
Because whose coach left last year? Was it Texas to A&M? Baseball coach?
Jim Schlossnagle went from A&M to Texas after taking A&M to the College World Series championship. And basketball is a bigger deal than baseball.
Yeah, man. I would be petty. Because Rodney Terry wasn't a bad coach, man. I think he may have run his course there, whatever it may have been. But, making those two calls, you have to at this point, specifically when those guys have been proven and they've done more with less almost in a sense, right? You see that, and specifically on the Chris Beard side. If you're going after big fish is what this game is now, to keep the excitement, to keep a standard of operating to where this level of play is going to be a requirement, not a suggestion. At A&M, because of Chris Beard, you do that. Look what he did with Ole Miss. My guy Ben, sorry, Ben. But I know you're a rebel, but man, that is the A&M bread is a little bit different, I think, than what they got going on in Oxford.
No doubt.
Ben, I hate to do that to y'all, but that's what we are these days.
Can I just question what exactly though is going on with the carousel when it seems like in some ways you're going backwards? What
do you mean?
In terms of what Buzz Williams did, You're in the SEC, and I get it. It's not football, but it is becoming more so of a known conference for basketball because you are going up against really good teams each and every year. And as long as you get in the tournament, you've got a chance, right? There's a lot of money at A&M, like you guys just said as well. So then Buzz Williams, he goes to Maryland, right? Maryland, the reason why their coach left, a lot of people are saying because the program, isn't where it needs to be, but because they haven't given it as much attention as it needs to have, considering it is more of a traditional basketball school, but it's fallen off a bit. And that's a reason why is because they're not putting as much resources. So it's you have that move going on. And then if you do get a guy like Chris Beard who does go over to Texas A&M, let's say, there is more money there. Like I've clearly stated, there's opportunity to win. You're just going to another SEC school. And then at what point does he leave? And you're wondering, well, why is he leaving? Again, you're in the SEC. You've got money. It just seems
money. You just heard
the carousel is so weird in college. You
think them switching coaches going backwards, though? As far
Buzz
as
Williams to Maryland? Yeah.
It's just what he does, though. He's done this his whole career.
And I don't
this is who Buzz Williams is.
I don't get it.
I don't think he wants to coach without Wade Taylor in a conference that's the hardest in basketball. To me, the first thing I thought was well, if I was a 4 seed and finished, 6th in my conference, maybe I'd look somewhere else, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a good season, but your path of upward mobility to being a championship contender in the SEC is way more challenging than it used to be. He ran away, basically.
He did.
He ran away for the big dogs and the big programs that care more about basketball than he does.
And here's the other side of it.
His old school did.
The ability for Maryland to spend bread, they saw it this past year. I think their coach that left took an opportunity he couldn't pass up on as well. Look at the Maryland situation. He got his one
Kevin Willard at Villanova.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Maryland and Villanova. That's a different context right there. The other side about Maryland is this for me, too. is they've shown the ability to use NIL and recruit. Heck, their young player mentioned it, Derek Queen. He brought that up. Other side of
because they pay me?
Yeah, because they pay me. The coach brought us the money.
That's funny.
And that's one thing I feel like their new coach is going to do, too, is have that be a part of it. With that being said, Maryland is also backed by Under Armour. Like, they got the means to do it. Them getting a prestigious coach, man, what is his name? Buzz Williams. I think Buzz Williams can get that going a little bit more than the previous coach could in this situation. So I see Maryland, as Will, that you just said, can be a better team in a division where they don't have to compete in the SEC.
Yeah. Pete Nakos of On 3 had 4 names out there for Texas A&M, first of which was Chris Beard. Chris Jans at Mississippi State, actually, was the second name on this list, which is really interesting. Talk about another lateral move. Tony Skinn at George Mason was a member of that team in 06 that made the Final Four for George Mason, led the Patriots to a 27-9 record in the A-10 regular season title this past season. Former assistant at Maryland, Ohio State, and Seton Hall. And TJ Otzelberger again, even though he just got an extension through 2032, the Iowa State coach, who is going to be really expensive. Former South Dakota State and UNLV head coach. I would be surprised if it was him.
I will say, though, we've seen a lot more of just within conference moves as of late. And the SEC has been big on that. I mean, we look at the women's game and the men's game in terms of, just going within conference. Whereas back in the day, I don't think it was as prevalent, or maybe it was looked down upon a little bit more, where now it's just like you go where the money is and the opportunity is, despite what conference you're in, or if it's an in-conference move. So
money and Jimmy Sexton talk, baby. At some point in time, if anything out of this, the fact that Chris Beard's name has been brought up, he gonna probably either get a pay increase from the Rebels at Ole Miss, or they're gonna snatch him. Because A&M got the bread. They enjoy what winning is, and the fact that they play little brother Texas like that, they can't let Texas one up them.
I think if you're going to go get Chris Beard, you're going to need to do it now before he builds the infrastructure of a legitimate program that can be a long-term success. Like at the beginning of Bruce Pearl's tenure at Auburn, you maybe could have lured him away. Now, Bruce Pearl will retire at Auburn, or until he gets in trouble with the NCAA again. But that doesn't really happen anymore.
Right.
So, like, Chris Beard now, if you're going to hire him, this is your only opportunity to do it. Because I think in a couple of years, he's going to have Ole Miss as a perennial top 4 seed overall in the NCAA tournament. Heck, he had him as a 6 seed this year and almost in the Elite 8. So
as long as they're giving the resources,
That's what it boils down to. And he made Sweet 16 this year.
And Ole Miss has money, but rarely does anyone have Texas A&M level money.
True.
I was gonna say, how much
that's a different level.
How much are you willing to pay in Oxford to make a point? Like, no, Texas A&M, like, that's a different beast over there.
Interesting.
Heck, I was in Buc-ee's yesterday. I saw it.
There you go.
Big opening in the SEC will be interesting to monitor there. And look, the 2 teams that didn't make the NCAA tournament are the 2 teams that have been the most active so far in the portal. Inky Johnson going back to South Carolina again.
Really?
He started at Ohio State, went to South Carolina, went to Ohio State again. Now he's going back to South Carolina. And LSU's been active as well. So, look, all 16 teams have a chance to be good next year.
Being bad don't last long in the SEC no more.
Coming up next, Scott Corley, the athletic director for Belmont University. Big one for the Belmont women in the women's NIT, the WBIT championship. We'll talk about that with Scott coming up next.
If you're living here in Nashville, first of all, you're probably loving it. But, there's a lot going on, and it might be hard to trust and find a real estate agent that you can really count on. That's why you need to check out my friend Bernie Gallerani. Bernie Gallerani has years of experience. He's going to know the neighborhood and care about your buying or selling needs. In fact, Bernie guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he's just going to buy it from you. Finding the right home, it takes time, as we all know. And for Charisse, that meant 6 months of searching for the perfect place. That's where Bernie Gallerani Real Estate made all the difference. From day one, the team was patient, answering every question and making sure the entire process was smooth and stress-free. So when Charisse was ready to buy, they found her perfect home. Bernie is the only real estate agent here in Nashville recommended by Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank, and the only agent I would trust to sell my home. So give him a call on his cell phone, 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644, or go to BernieGallerani.com.
It is 8 o'clock for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. The Tush Push is here to stay for now. Multiple reports say yesterday that 16 teams supported Green Bay's submission, which would have banned players from immediately pushing the player who receives the snap. That number fell 8 votes short of the minimum needed to change the rules. When the owners gather again in May, it is expected to get more conversation. 6-time Pro Bowl defensive lineman Calais Campbell has finalized a 1-year deal, returning to Arizona for his 18th NFL season. The 1-year deal was worth a max value of $7.5 million for the former second-round pick in 2008 by the Cardinals. The season-opening nightmare continued for the Atlanta Braves, who fall to 0-6 last night after a 3-1 loss to the 7-0 Dodgers Tuesday in Dodger Stadium. This is now officially the worst start for the Braves since they started 0-9 in 2016. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are off to MLB's best start for a defending World Series champion since the 1933 New York Yankees of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. RKW Brew by Scooters Coffee continues into the second half of your Wednesday morning. With locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood, make sure you download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Crew's all here. Ramone Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Pleased to be joined on a very big day for Belmont University Athletics and Belmont Women's Basketball by the athletic director of the Belmont Bruins, Scott Corley, kind enough to give us a couple of minutes this morning. Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Belmont and Minnesota tonight, the WBIT championship game, 5 o'clock Central here in Nashville, nationally televised on ESPN2. Scott, just how excited are you for your women's basketball program and a big opportunity tonight?
It's a huge opportunity, and I'm really excited and proud of how hard the ladies have competed. And to get to this point, it's quite a testament because it's a long road. I was looking, this will be our 39th game of the season. Obviously, there was a lot of disappointment initially when we didn't make the NCAA tournament, and you never know how teams are going to react to that. And but this team's been special to see them pull together, fight, and win a lot of big games through this tournament. And now we got a good chance to win it all. So might as well embrace the opportunity and make the most of it. But it's been fun.
Belmont this season at 26 wins. They've been fantastic, playing for their first ever national championship at any sport at any level. 1995 men's basketball team made the NAIA national semifinal. But Scott, when you talk about this team specifically, what have you enjoyed the most about watching them improve and watching them play down the stretch here where they've just been terrific?
Yeah, I think what's been fun is to see every game. It's almost a different player steps up, and they play so hard for one another, and they really enjoy being around each other. Obviously, Coach Brooks and the staff have just done an amazing job with game planning and getting the team ready. But one night it might be Kendall Cheeseman, going for 25, and then the next night Tootie Jones has a career high like she did against James Madison, and then in the game here against Villanova, Jalen Banks was outstanding in her performance. And so it's truly a team, and it takes a team to win a championship like this. So it's been really rewarding in an environment in college athletics where you don't know what your team's going to look like year after year. To see a team like this come together and enjoy playing together has been great.
Scott Corley, Belmont Athletic Director, joining us this morning on RKW. Scott, whether it be Casey Alexander on the men's side or, like you mentioned, Bart Brooks, who, by the way, third fastest to 100 wins in women's basketball history is he. What is it about these coaches that you're able to identify and not only bring here and have success, but also that kind of stay?
Yeah, I think it starts, we're very intentional on the front end of the type of coaches we want to bring into our program. And it's it's a program. The culture was set by Rick Byrd and others like Coach. And, I think it starts there. We want to find coaches that understand it's more than just getting wins and losses. It's, helping develop young people, and it starts there. And then I think once we get them here, it certainly helps to be at a beautiful campus in a great city like Nashville that has a winning tradition, that is resourced well to help them compete and succeed. And again, I just think we've got a unique culture where people enjoy coming to work every day, and they're there to support each other. I know Casey is a leader in our department in supporting other coaches and vice versa. And Bart just is – I've really been amazed at Bart. I mean, number one, he's probably the nicest human being on the planet. Number two, he's very humble, but very driven and competitive. And I hate to say this in a way to equate it, but I got to play for Coach Byrd, and I got to work with Coach Byrd, and Bart reminds me so much of Coach Byrd and how he approaches his day-to-day work and life. And so it's a lot of fun for me to work with those types of coaches.
How much fun has it also been to see the women's game grow like it has?
I love it. It's been it's well deserved. It's a very entertaining product. I don't know if y'all got to watch our comeback against Northern Arizona in the tournament, but we're down 21 points. Our girls never quit. And I've had so many people come up to me after that game saying it was one of the best basketball games I've ever watched, men or women. And so, it's where it ought to be, right? It's a game that deserves more eyeballs. It's a game that deserves more people talking about it, because there are a lot of talented players out there that are competing at the highest level.
No doubt about it. Scott Corley with us, Belmont's AD, joining us talk the women's game tonight, man. You guys planning a championship game. With that being said, also, looking at your schedule and you guys' breakdown, you don't take a back seat to anybody. You go up against anyone, too, whether it be Kansas State, Ohio State, Duke, Michigan. When you guys are setting up these schedules, what is your mindset as you say, may not have the resources of a Duke or Michigan or Mississippi State, but what is your mindset into scheduling these to find your girls in a competitive atmosphere like this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I laugh all the time. I said, Bart, you are not afraid. And he's got a great mindset. I mean, he plays those games to help the team prepare for the conference season ahead and for postseason play. And I love that about the women's game as well, though. The Power Four schools will schedule a Belmont, where on the men's side it's almost impossible to do. And so, Bart takes advantage of it. Obviously, we went 0-6, and that's tough, and you worry about what does that do to the psyche. But, again, I think Bart has so much confidence in himself and his staff and what he's building in his program that, he doesn't view that as a potential risk, a long-term risk in the season, that, hey, let's go play good competition, let's compete, let's get better by doing it, and it's going to set us up for success throughout the season.
By the way, I have one suggestion for you guys over there. We're talking to Belmont AD Scott Corley. I was in Nashville, and I rolled by you guys' campus at night. It is by far one of the best-looking campuses in all of America that I've seen at nighttime. All your official visits, Scott, should be at nighttime, okay? Because I say that in this way. I look at the bigger schools that are around the Middle Tennessee area, and I don't know if they're really captivating Nashville, the city, like the look, the buzz of it, the way you guys have on that campus, from the way Rose Park, I know is where you guys would play it, but like the way it overlooks the city. But then how are you utilizing Nashville to recruit the way you guys have? Because you're winning a lot over the last few years. I mean, for a while now. How are you utilizing Nashville is what I'm getting to.
Well, it's a big draw, and we say all the time, if we can get student athletes to come visit, to do an in-person visit on our campus, we've got a really good chance of getting them, because you pointed out, I mean, we're really proud of our campus. It's beautiful. It does have an amazing energy to it. that I think when we get student athletes to come visit, they feel that, they sense that. And there's just so much opportunity in Nashville too, as for stuff they will do when their playing days are over. And so it is a huge draw, not only for athletics, but for the university overall. And I've written it down. Night visits is a must.
There we go.
That's all I'm saying. I fell in love with it. Like, I was just like, what is that? Like, I wasn't genuinely shocked, but I was just like, I said some other words. But I was like, man, that is a beautiful campus. It just is. And you guys are still building over there. It's crazy. Never mind. I'm off that soapbox. I love your campus. Invite me anytime is what I'm saying, Scott.
I think Ramone might be applying for a job in admissions if you'll have it.
I can still go get my master's.
Let's go.
And Scott, on the way out, as you get ready for this matchup tonight, taking a look at Belmont WBIT Championship tonight again, 5 Central. If you want to tune in on ESPN2, what will people maybe watching this team for the first time enjoy about watching them and just the way that they play?
Well, I think their heart, their determination. Obviously, we can shoot the three, and we're going to need to hit a lot of threes today. Minnesota's big, physical. Hopefully, we can provide some mismatches for them. They're not used to having their 5 guard a Kendall Cheeseman, who's our best three-point shooter. And so I just think you're going to see a team that's going to fight, compete to the end, whether we win or lose. But we've got a lot of talent. We've got a lot of interchangeable parts. And so it's going to take the full team to win tonight. And hopefully we can get it done. And hopefully all the folks there in Nashville will tune in and cheer on this team because I think they'll enjoy what they see.
I love it. Going to be great. 5 o'clock tonight, Belmont, Minnesota, WBIT Championship at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Scott, it really is true. The way you guys as a program have grown with the city of Nashville, you're ambitious, you're prestigious with just great tradition in so many of these sports. It's been really fun to watch, and wish you the best of luck tonight. I hope you bring a W back to Nashville. Appreciate the time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
Yes, sir. Scott Corley with us here this morning, Belmont Athletic Director, Belmont and Minnesota at 5 tonight. You guys are going to love watching Tootie Jones play, too, the point guard graduate who has made 135 starts for the Belmont Bruins. That is the most in the Bruins NCAA era. She is electric.
Yeah.
The team is really fun. Kendall Cheeseman, he mentioned, too, is awesome. I mean, Bart Brooks is as
really
good of a person as there is in college athletics. The guy is just, he gets it. In a lot of ways, if you are out there and you like Power 4 schools and you're tired of the way college athletics has become, mid-major basketball is for you. It is still the purity of college athletics in so many ways. And yes, there's NIL, yes, there's transfer portal, but you get more four-year players. You get more of what college athletics was. Another reason to buy in and invest in local programs like that.
Yep. It was for the nail biter they had against Northern Arizona. They absolutely smacked JMU.
It was crazy. Yeah, they had 90-45. That was the 1 seed in the tournament.
I know.
Momentum, right?
I was trash talking Peyton.
You should have. I hope
my JMU grad fiance
pointed at her too. I hope you pointed at her and talked trash.
I was like, it's the first time we're playing each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck to the ladies tonight.
I've been a loyal Belmont person for my whole life.
Yeah, he's been there for a minute too. I mean, people, they think the men's program first and foremost, but Bart Brooks has been doing a good job with that program for a minute.
I'm telling y'all, I'm not overselling that campus. If y'all ever going to these,
very walkable.
It was E3 I was going to. If you ever going anywhere around that vicinity, drive by that campus.
It's a good steak too. Shut up.
No, shout out. They got a great old fashioned over there.
Yes, they do.
All right, coming up next, your phone calls 615-737-1045. Buzz from NFL owners meetings. A new report out there. Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports putting it plainly about what he's hearing from the Titans. That's next.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live. Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone as Hour 3 continues. 615-737-1045, the number. So we've been worrying, or maybe just wondering, when are the Titans just going to say it? We're taking Cam Ward in big neon letters like what you see in a sign out on Broadway. Well, Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports is saying it. New stuff this morning, A to Z Sports Nashville.com. As I effort this, it was pulled up, and then I apparently closed the window. But Easton Freeze is basically point blank writing it. The Tennessee Titans are taking Cam Ward. Breaking. Not really. Kind of. Says the Tennessee Titans are going to draft Cam Ward. With less than a month until draft day, that is the consensus expectation. In the past 3 weeks, Easton Freeze writes, it's something I've implied, assumed, and alluded to many times. So let me put it plainly. The plan is Cam. After the combine in February, it was a lean. After Ward's 30 visit 1 week later, it was an expectation. After free agency, it felt like a lock. And now his pro day, private workout, and the owners' meetings have done well to erase any remaining doubts. There you go.
Yeah.
Not everyone all at once.
Two things to play devil's advocate right here. Two things to play devil's advocate. One, we know this with Easton getting, and I say this in all due respect to your professionalism and everything else, Easton, so I'm just playing devil's advocate on this. You may be listening. But here's my point. We know this. Easton is close to the scene. Him getting the exclusive with Coach Callahan, to me, signifies like he may be the guy to get more information than most. So that's apparent, in my opinion. Also, looking at this situation, it could be that Easton finally got the answers that he was looking for by somebody just dropping a hint. Yeah, we're getting them. I also look at it, and just to be cautious about assuming that it's a done deal, what if they're using him to actually throw off what their true intentions are? To keep drumming up just drama behind it.
I think everything else they're saying, though, backs up what Easton is writing.
It is. And that's why I say I'm playing devil's advocate on this one, just to point out, hey, this is just a little like, I feel like the answer is already done.
It is.
The card, go ahead and turn it in.
Right.
Why are we, to your point before you started that, Will, like, why are we still playing the game of, no, we're exhausting our options? I get it. You have to, because somebody might come up and actually offer you something, and you don't want to just look like a bold-faced liar. But everything points towards Cam Ward. All the scenarios surrounding the Tennessee Titans, specifically the Giants, to me, signify that Cam Ward is probably realistically off their board, too. Because, again, when you leave the combine and the conversations between agents and the talking heads have already happened, big decisions can be made. And specifically when he went to his pro day, like all brass went down to Miami, and they're not going out to Colorado. And I know they're bringing
Talked about that a lot yesterday.
Shedeur. I know they're bringing Shedeur in, or going to him for a separate workout.
Yeah.
A week from today.
But the optics of it,
and Travis Hunter. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I feel a little slighted if I was Shedeur in a sense, but I get like the scheduling of everything suggests that it's better for them to just wait and go out one time and have him in a private one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, no breaking news of why, we believe Cam Ward is coming here. I will say, if there's additional nuggets to that article that Easton Freeze wrote that we're discussing right now, it is that, speaking of who was down at Cam Ward's pro day, Amy Adams Strunk did come. I don't know if that was in the private workout or the pro day, but she did go down there, and she did, talk with Cam Ward, which usually
Who did?
Amy Adams Strunk.
She did one down?
I'll read it word for word.
That's in the article.
For his private workout, every team official returned with one very notable addition, controlling owner Amy Adams Strunk. She went down to meet the player she plans to soon root on as the face of the franchise. NFL owners don't typically make a habit of meeting with prospects ahead of the draft unless they expect to take them. Her trip and introduction to Cam went very well.
See, that's the nugget I took from it that was like, okay, that might be the cherry on top, because you're right, Ramone. It's not done until it's done. And you never know what type of offer, might be intriguing for them. But it does seem like if you're going to bring down the owner and that owner knows that this is possibly the face of the franchise and she's taken her jet down there to meet him, I would say that's probably the cherry on top, the icing on the cake, whatever you want to call it. I thought that was the most interesting nugget out of any of it.
Go ahead and turn the card in.
You've got your own card there, right?
Oh, turn the card.
When was the last time a team negotiated a contract before the draft? Because that used to happen. Before the number one overall pick was placed, you'd already start negotiating a contract with that player.
Sure did. It's so slotted now that his numbers are set. It's a matter of guarantees for him and how much the CBA,
and
how much
language, workout things, and
all
weight clauses and all that stuff.
Only thing that he's going to be worried about is if I think he'd get about 24, 26 million guaranteed. That's all he's worried about at this point. And how soon can we get you in the training camp? This is a done deal. Turn that card in. We're good to go at this point.
So Amy being there was all you needed to hear.
Yes. Because if it's as much of a discussion as her importance, how she deal with the football side versus the business side of everything that she's doing, I ain't ever heard of her being this involved this early with a prospect. And again, she wasn't controlling owner, I don't think, the last time they had the number one overall pick and a quarterback was needed. But I also think it shows you, too, just the level of importance this position is. It ain't many people, owners, that take their time out to go meet with a prospect this early in the process. Maybe a phone conversation a time or two. I just didn't see Miss Amy being this involved in it.
Sure.
But if she's good to go, then I don't even want to talk about him no more. We're done.
I know.
Private workouts? What the heck?
Yeah, no.
Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, it's like, oh, nice to meet you. We're just here to,
And I think that's why they're not saying this themselves.
Right.
That's why you're continuing to hear them say in the media, to answer the same question we did yesterday. It's the same answer. They've got to go through the process. They said they were going to start with Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. It's why from the beginning of owners' meetings, they said, we'll be here with a decision in about 2 weeks after we meet with those guys.
Kayla, do you happen to know why he didn't jump in the draft last year?
Yeah, I actually talked about this yesterday.
You did?
It's surprising enough. So when he came out of Washington State, he did declare. And so he was planning on going to the draft this last year, right?
And
he's
24.
got some really good, I've told Will this, he's got some really good people around him. Some people, it can be a little bit iffy, but I do know this for a fact. He's got good people surrounding him who he kind of talked to enough people that gave him the direction of, you know what, Cam, you need to go back to school, go to a school that has a little bit more notoriety, more so than anything, more eyes on it, right? I mean, Washington State doesn't have the eyes on it. You need to be in prime time.
That's fascinating, considering we've had as of late, I throw Zach Wilson out there, North Dakota State, him and Trey Lance, both. Wyoming, that have had, not as many eyes on them. And that's my only question. It's I don't think Washington State that far behind the 8 ball as a North Dakota State or Wyoming.
Think of how much it's changed even in 3 years, though.
Well, I don't know that part of it, but if the prospect is good enough, they go find him. Is what I'm saying. If he just needed another year, he just needed another year. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, and
I didn't want to subscribe to dissing your school and saying, because he went to Washington State, he's not validated.
But
because
also it's
North Dakota
changed.
States get dogged too.
Sure, but it has changed the landscape. They are no longer the Pac-12. They are not a big conference. They are not the eyes have diminished even more on them in the past few years. That's facts. And that's different from what it used to be even when the Pac-12 was intact. There were more eyes on it. There's no doubt about it. You had Oregon. You had USC. You were playing against those teams more. He had 1 year of that and then a year of completely disarray in terms of what the conference was. So, yes, it's a mixture of he needed another year, but he also needed more eyes on him, I think.
I wonder what the alternate history of Cam Ward going to Auburn looks like. Because Auburn wanted Cam Ward so badly, but they waited way too late in the process. And Miami was in on him from the beginning.
Yep.
And Hugh Freeze waited. In the world where Cam Ward is at Auburn instead of Peyton Thorne.
I would have loved that.
I don't know. If you like Cam Ward as much as I know you do, I don't know if you would have loved that behind that offensive line.
Well, I will say I don't like Hugh Freeze, so maybe I wouldn't have loved that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you would not have loved that. I don't know if
Hugh Freeze is not my favorite.
He's not.
He's just not my cup of tea. Let's just say
He's not. Okay, I didn't know he had those type of issues.
He would have turned Cam Ward into another Malik Willis.
Oof. That's true.
In terms of offensive systems,
Not a lie.
That's tough. I was just wondering on like him jumping in because since we're gonna go down this road, if he had committed last year to the draft and stayed in it, but the guys that were selected last year, where would he have fallen?
Second round pick, probably.
Because of the quarterbacks, yeah. There were
Probably a second round pick.
big chunk quarterbacks last year.
So we're all in agreement, or there's an agreement that he got better than at Miami.
100%.
Like, or was this tape still the same tape of Washington State?
And I talked about that
this
yesterday,
Miami
too.
tape is better than Washington
there are
State?
improvements.
I think there are improvements. I think there are some similarities. Like, there's still a lot of turnover-worthy plays. But he didn't have as many picks. Didn't have as many turnovers. He won Miami some games. And, I mean, you watch the film of that that Virginia Tech game late where he goes in a game-winning drive and Cam McCormick scores with about, 11 seconds left? And then you watch the film of the Cal game where he goes in a game-winning drive. Like, it's that piece of it that really stands out about Cam Ward.
Okay, for sure. But, yeah, that card is done, though. Like, they might as well laminate it. Have Miss Amy sign it, put, what's today's date? 4/2. Oh, happy birthday. Brent Daugherty, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday, Brent.
Yeah, April 2nd, man. Happy birthday to you.
I thought he was
guys.
going to
say his last name right. To wish him happy birthday.
Is it? I said it wrong?
Doherty.
Doherty.
The
I said
mayor.
Daugherty.
You said Daugherty.
Just say mayor.
I thought I said Doherty. I've heard that name said 15 different ways. I've heard
Irish.
Doherty. I've heard
What
Doherty.
the heck? Yeah, no, I've heard Doherty.
Daugherty. Like, I've heard it 15 different ways. Well, that's four ways. I lied. 4 ways.
Easton Freeze at A to Z Sports, though, does write about a lot of different factors that have gone into this, talking about a murky media narrative. He also adds, think horses, not zebras. Says, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. Saying, consider this simple reality. Everything the Titans have done this offseason makes perfect sense for an eventual selection of Cam Ward. If he's not the pick, everything suddenly makes a lot less sense. Look at free agency, where the emphasis was on reinforcing and completing the offensive line. Titans' pre-free agency interest in certain markets, such as Sam Darnold's, was reported on, but after the combine, when deals were actually struck, they were never linked to any of the bidding. The pair of uninspiring quarterback moves paint a picture of setting up a QB room in a familiar, ideal way to insert a rookie star. That rookie, by the way, is somebody they've already gone out of their way to have as many touch points as possible with. A combine formal meeting, the first 30 visit on his calendar, his pro day, a private workout later that same week, and some additional Zoom sessions in the near future.
Yeah, and we've said all that on the show, that for those reasons, it pointed towards Cam Ward at this point, for sure.
I don't think there is any world where they are giving us a smokescreen anymore.
Yeah. They have to say the right things. I get that.
Because they're not saying it. That's the thing. It's becoming what we're hearing and what we know about what they are doing. Yeah. Actions speak louder than words, and their actions point with a large neon sign that they are selecting Cam Ward. Their words are still saying something else, but their actions of flying Amy Adams Strunk down there to meet with him in person scream, Cam Ward, you are a Tennessee Titan. Pick out your jersey number.
In our YouTube chat, Brian says, I think they're building up hype for Cam to get someone to move up to him.
If so, this is the most amount of hype that has ever been built up to ever mislead anyone.
I swear.
Great acting. Give him an Oscar.
With all due respect, there's just no chance that is the case.
So just to expand it, just who is where I'm looking. Like, I'm looking at the draft order right now. Cleveland, Johns.
Yeah, who are they trying to mislead?
Cleveland.
Yeah. Not much.
It's one thing to put out there you like Cam Ward in February to try to lure someone to come up and take him. But at this point, I think they just genuinely like him.
I think they genuinely like him. And the only people I can see really moving or trying to make a move, I still look at Vegas situation, say you get them and sit them, Jets maybe, or at the most, Dallas still, or San Francisco.
See, I think New Orleans would be the one, if you're talking about any in that world.
They're talking about Dart.
Who could do it?
I don't even know if they're like, are you willing to give up the capital to do it? And that's why, I like what Brian said.
The Saints or the Titans?
That's the game, huh?
The Saints or the Titans? Are you willing to give up the cap? What do you mean?
The Saints, or any team that wants to trade. I'm on the conversation. Like, who is like, where is it?
You got to give up a lot.
Where's the best spot to move up? And like, are you willing to give? How much capital are you willing to give up? Because here's the issue: the Saints are in a position, like they got so much like cap issues. Like they got to start getting young through the draft at some point. And that's their biggest issue that you have. So you can throw them out of it, right? The Jets situation, like, are they really in the market for it right now?
No, because I think they do believe Justin Fields is their guy.
Justin Fields.
And he's young enough, right?
He's young enough. So
the Giants have always been the trade partner.
Yeah.
Always.
And I don't think they're in at this point.
So let's play all the scenarios since we know it's this way. Then, if New England hadn't gone out and won that game, they have the number 1 overall pick, and the Titans are potentially a third. Do you want the Titans to move up to go get Cam?
Well, that's the
biggest
conversation
right there.
That's the biggest question.
In a word, no.
Yeah.
And here's the
Easy
thing.
answer.
We don't know what they would think because they've been vetting Cam for a while now, right? And it seems at some point fell in love with him enough to say, hey, we want to pick him number 1. But what makes you think that would be the case if they were 3? Like, they don't have draft capital to really give up to go and get number 1 either.
But they need... To that same point, but they would need a quarterback still is the point. Like, would they love him enough to move up from 3 to 1? And more than likely, because of the capital, the answer is probably no.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Giants, the most QB desperate team in the NFL, were not desperate enough to meet your price to go up to 1. The Titans would not have been either. I genuinely believe
they don't have anything to give up.
They have future draft picks.
Future.
I mean, but gosh, to talk about keeping them.
This is not the prospect worth mortgaging your entire future for, in my opinion.
And
it's one thing to pick him if he's there at 1. It's another to give up 3 first-round picks for Cam Ward. I don't think Cam Ward is a good enough prospect to warrant that level of future draft capital, because then you are putting your job totally on the line.
So
on the line.
That's where I think we discuss like prospects, like ratings and stuff like that. Because here's what we do know: Houston did move up to go get C.J. Stroud in a fashion like that, and that's the only reason like I bring up like the discrepancies between on how you judge prospects. Right now, that was a different class,
and they technically moved up for Will Anderson, but yeah,
they did. Well, it was Will Anderson.
Carolina moved up for Bryce Young. They believed him as good of a prospect as there was that was worthy to go get.
And that's the conversation right there. So I think like Chad them earlier this offseason on our show using that generational word was line stepping in a sense. You go with what's best for your organization. And that to me seems to be Cam Ward at this point.
I agree.
Generational should be generational is Abdul is Travis.
I don't like that word in general. I don't.
I think generational
because
is a good word
until
to
you
use.
actually prove it in the NFL, like that's a tough word to use and attach to a prospect because you don't know what they'll be at the next level, but especially a quarterback because it is a 50-50 situation with quarterbacks, I feel like. I could say I'm okay with maybe one of the positional players in that aspect, but quarterback, man, it is a flip of the coin.
Well, that's true. I feel like Joe Burrow played himself into it at that time. I still think Caleb Williams has that attachment to him, specifically with Coach Johnson now in Detroit. In Chicago. Yeah. Right, there's definitely the we'll see side of it. But, like, certain guys, a lot of guys have had that tabbed and gotten it. Eric Berry, I thought, had it. I thought Saquon Barkley had it. I think Trevor Lawrence, considering what they are in Jacksonville, but considering what they are and this instability of having the coaches that he's had, like, I think it's still in him to get, right? And there's just guys have it. It's a matter of watching it unfold. I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I do. I think his team sucks, but I believe in him and his talent 100%.
Question on YouTube says, so it's okay for us to take him at 1, but he's not worth trading up for. How does that make sense? Simple. You're using 1 first-round pick on him and not 3.
Yeah, you don't have the draft capital right now to do that if you were at 3. That's just not – it's not what they have.
Yeah.
They're a building team.
If you already have the first pick, so you take him, that also – 2 things can be true. You wouldn't mortgage this first-round pick the next year's and the next year's to take him.
Right.
That I would not.
Exactly. Because you still have to build up.
Pretty simple. 615-737-1045, the number. Other news from owners' meetings, what the Browns, Jets, and Patriots are thinking about QBs coming up. 2020 or 22 days until the 2025 NFL Draft first round and until Cam Ward is a Tennessee Titan. RKW brewed by Scooter's Coffee wrapping up hour 3 this morning. Rhett Bryan going to join us in 15 minutes. We'll talk about all the quarterback discussions as well as edge rushers that we are scouting this morning, a very important position for your Tennessee Titans.
A necessary one too, Will.
That is right. Teron Davenport, a few minutes ago on Twitter, ESPN writer, does a great job covering the Titans. Of course, at @TDavenport_NFL. Titans will have Denard Wilson, Mike Borgonzi, and wide receivers coach Tyke Tolbert, among others, at Colorado's Pro Day on Friday, but not Chad Brinker and Brian Callahan. They've already done extensive work on Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. They'll see Sanders at a private workout on April the 9th.
Yeah, Again, if you're going to throw out everything for the guy that you eventually are picking number 1 overall, I think you have to show that equal to every guy that you feel like is going to be your number 1 overall pick. And when it comes down to it, if we're trying to be nitpicking at the situation, it all comes down to they've thrown out all the flowers for Cam Ward. They've, send out the whole corral for Cam Ward's pro day. And in this, you're like, well, you're getting the next tier. And I know Mike Borgonzi is going to be down there, but wouldn't you want your head coach? I mean, he's the one going to be coaching this guy. And I know they're going to be at the private workouts, but if we're if we're matching each one up, they're
tipping their hand.
He's not getting the full treatment, or they aren't.
Correct.
Compared to Cam.
They're tipping their hand.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's a fascinating approach to it. I'll say this, as strong-minded as we see Shedeur's camp be, and he's been his entire career too. I wonder personally if it matters to him, or is it a situation where, look, business is business at this point. You can't dictate and control what you can and have in college. So we'll be there if we say we'll be there, and you just take it as it is. I do just look at the optics of it, and I go opposite direction. Again, I still contend there may be a play to be made.
I thought you quit on Team Trade Back. You sang your song.
I have. I've conceded.
And you retired.
But it's just like knowing that you're going to get a whooping regardless when you go home, and you still think to yourself, well, what if Mama ain't feeling good today?
Yeah, I appreciate your willingness to play the other side. But there is no other side to play. They have to play it because of the optics of it, and because they get a whole process, and because you get a chance to scout potential opponents. Like, that's the other thing I think people forget within all of this. Like, knowing what makes a quarterback tick helps you, and you've got a game plan against that quarterback in the future. Yeah. But it's Cam Ward. Like, it just is at this point. Like, that is why we as a show have shifted towards getting to know him more and doing more breakdown on him as a prospect, because he is your future quarterback.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yep.
That is... Moving on. I said it before. The card.
You sang it before.
I have. And if this was Caleb Williams, will we be having the same conversation?
No.
What ifs?
We would have known he was the pick since the second the Patriots won their last game.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right. That's not
Cam Ward's story.
No, it's
not. It doesn't
not
mean he's going to be worse than Caleb Williams. It's just not the way we landed on him.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to seeing him get here to Nashville. I really am, because for this
coming to town.
Yeah. For this reason right here. I've heard a lot of people, and I've seen this tape who say he made everybody better. Like, I don't think you guys understand how special that is. Like, you do know and you get it, because Tannehill had a good moment where he made a lot of people around him better. And seeing where this team is and how the season unfolded this past year, to where it was just, you were down in the pits. Like, you were in the gallows of, like, football, I felt like, last year. And watching a guy worthy of being picked number 1 overall, the expectation of elevating everybody. And I got hope for a guy like Treylon Burks, right? Like, watching an offensive line come together.
I don't.
And I say that.
Gotta be on the field.
You know why you should.
He's not on the field, Mo.
But you know why you should.
No, he's not proven any of that.
You know why you should be excited for Treylon Burks having a good season? It's because if you have the right quarterback that can give him the ball, then you make a better prospect out of Treylon Burks.
I get that part.
I've seen guys with lesser talent be made into stars because a quarterback can get them the ball the way they need it.
He can't stay on the field long enough to build that talent. That's the biggest point of Treylon Burks. It's not like I don't believe he could be that guy. He's not on the field consistently enough to build upon that.
Well, let's say this. Maybe the ball that Ryan Tannehill threw to him in Minnesota made him get injured more than the actual injury itself. What if the ball had
but if it's not that, it's something else. There will always be a reason why he can't get on the field.
If we can have the same conversations about Will Levis being in competition for the starting quarterback, then dang it, we got to be in a position where we can say Treylon Burks has the potential to stay healthy, and you also believe in Cam Ward making him better. Like, we can't have one and not the others in this situation right here. Because if he's your guy and you love him that much, you better believe he needs to make everybody, including, what's his name, Oliver, a stud of a wide receiver. Like, that's just where we are as a franchise. Like, that's where they are. It's legitimately that. If he is that guy, the elevation of every player inside that locker room is expected to be better. And you can't say, well, because it's Treylon and he'll be injured. No, absolutely not. Injuries happen. A guy's labeled a bust because of an injury is a whole lot different than a guy that just simply sucks. And we saw what sucky looks like last year. So that's my only point. There should be an expectation for him to be better.
If he's on the field and he can stay on the field, absolutely. He needs to be better, and Cam Ward needs to help to make him better. But again, I'll reserve that because I just haven't seen it yet.
I don't think a quarterback throwing accurate passes to receiver is the only thing that keeps them healthy. Treylon's got to prove to me he can stay healthy for a 17-game season before I have any expectation on it.
There was an ACL this last one.
There was.
Every one of his have
next
been
time
blunt
it'll be
trauma,
something else.
Blunt force traumas, though.
When you are, this is his fourth year
He's going on his
coming
fourth
up?
year. He's got one touchdown.
Like,
in his career.
it's more than just the ACL. It's everything else. It's been something every single year he's been a pro. And I know maybe he's just the guy with rotten luck.
Mm-hmm.
But until he proves that that's the case, I'm going to believe that it's a him problem.
If it was all hamstring and pecs,
I know.
It's a different conversation.
But sometimes hurt players are just hurt players. And that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And that is all he has proven to us, Treylon Burks, so far, is that he is a guy who's consistently going to find a way not to play versus find a way to play.
He's not looking for a reason not to play.
I'm not saying he's looking for it. I'm
ways
saying
that he's injured.
He has enough ailments for him not to get on the field.
But
I have no expectation. Sure.
He's
plenty of people want to be.
He's a good dude, man. I root for Treylon Burks no matter what, but unfortunately, the history is not shown he can be that guy, you know? Not saying I don't want him to be.
I don't think bringing in a better quarterback changes that. So
unless he can stay healthy.
I contend that it could help.
It could, absolutely. But I'll believe it when I see it. I'd love to be wrong. I will believe it when I see it. 615-737-1045. We'll get back to your calls later in hour 4 because Rhett Bryan is coming up next.
We've got the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
It's Ramone Foster for Secure Lawn. Good people, I got home yesterday from a baseball game, man, and I rolled up to my yard, and it was cut. It was clean. It was green. It was thick. It was lush. It was all those things, man. And I said to myself, shout out to Secure Lawn, man. You know why? Because they did a really good job in this grass offseason, man, of getting my lawn together, man. No weeds, no crabgrass, none of that ugly stuff that you find in the middle of your yard when you're trying to have a magazine-ready front yard. I'm telling you. They are some of the best to do it. They're family owned and operated, man, and they've been servicing Middle Tennessee for over 20 years. They're quick in their response time, man, and here's the best part about it. Their kids go to the same schools as yours do. They've been here and doing great work for a very long time by providing you a prime service as it pertains to how you want your grass to look. This isn't a company that's going to cut your grass and trim your trees and stuff like that. No, they simply want to make sure that you have no weeds and no ugly sites in the middle of your yard. They protect all types of grass too, and they service residential, commercial, and even athletics fields. So go ahead and get a start on your yard for this upcoming season. You can call Secure Lawn at 615-893-8455 or go to securelawn.com.
9:01 for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. The Titans have re-signed defensive back Justin Hardy. Hardy joined the Titans in the middle of last season after playing for the Saints and Jets before that. In 2024, Hardy played in 9 games, primarily on special teams. He was credited with 3 special team stops. He's played in 109 games, Hardy, over 8 seasons, totaling 15 tackles on defense and 66 on special teams. The tush push is here to stay for now. 16 teams supported Green Bay's submission, which would have banned players from immediately pushing the player who receives the snap. That number fell 8 votes short of the minimum needed to change the rules, according to reports. When the owners gather again in May, it is expected to get more conversation. And in baseball, the season-opening nightmare continued for the Atlanta Braves last night. They fall 3-1 to the LA Dodgers. The Braves are 0-6. The Dodgers are 7-0. It's the worst start for Atlanta since they started 0-9 in 2016. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are off to MLB's best start for a defending World Series champion since the 1933 New York Yankees of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Fourth and final hour, 9 a.m. of RKW, brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Fourth and final hour with Rhett Bryan on this Wednesday morning. Inky Johnson and Midweek Motivation coming up at the end of the program. Rhett, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. How are we?
We're great.
Right on.
What's going on?
Feeling good. Sun's still out. Last time we'll see it for a little while, so enjoy that.
You know,
you're our weatherman.
Yeah, and we're just in that window of time. I mean, quite honestly, where we are geographically, there's a chance for tornadic and severe weather almost any time year. I mean, we've had tornadoes in December. We've had them in January. But this is the real key peak times in the spring where it gets a little warm too quick and the elements are right and all of those things. And I think the thing after what will come through early tomorrow morning, I think they're more concerned about winds and obviously rain is the biggest thing. And for everybody listening in the Middle Tennessee area, we'll have a lot of rain. There'll be some localized flooding, but as long as the forecast models line up the way I see them, like if we were in West Tennessee, that'd be a different story because they're going to have historic rainfall there.
Dang.
And I'm not wishing that on them. I'm just saying for everybody listening in the immediate area, I did the Boy Scout thing and I went and changed my wiper blades when I got home. I had an extra set and I put them on and mine weren't worn out. They'd just been on there long enough. I started to see. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? Let's pay a dividend now so we can see because I-24 at 5:45 in the morning is what I affectionately call NASCAR's equivalent of Talladega. People swapping lanes and going crazy.
The Tennessee Autobahn.
I'm going to start a little petty and ratchet here this morning.
Love that.
Yeah, because and it involves you, Ramone.
Love it.
Oh.
And the big guys in this draft.
Let's do it.
Tell me what in the hell is going on with what I call measurement gate. Did you see this post?
Yeah.
From Dane Brugler yesterday.
About LSU?
Among 46 offensive line combine prospects who remeasured at their pro day, 43 of the 46 had longer arms at the pro day, and those are measured by NFL scouts. Mm-hmm. This wasn't only a Will Campbell LSU issues. Teams usually lean on combine numbers, but not this year.
Yeah, that is
not just an LSU problem this year.
It's not.
That also says Dane Brugler, who is the author of the most glorious thing called The Beast that comes out next week, is feverishly changing arm length measurements before it goes to final print.
What the difference is stuff that folks bring up all the time. Like combine and pro days are a little bit different. I don't want to say guys are tense whenever they get whenever they get measured at the combine and stuff. But I do know, like, your own strength and conditioning coach on your campus is a little willing to let you move that arm over a little bit more. That's why, like, I've always heard Penn State pro days, numbers are always juice. It's something you always hear in those situations. You can bet your bottom dollar guy's going to be a 1/10 of a second quicker or 100th of a second quicker and probably a little bit taller or slimmer at their pro days. It's just how it goes. And, again, it's a little bit more lenient. You got to also think, like, these may be pro scouts and NFL executives and stuff like that are doing these measurements, but they're not on primetime TV where the guy's like, no, keep your arm right here. Like, there's a little bit more given.
Sure. Yeah,
I saw a guy get on a gravity machine, pull himself taller. I legitimately saw that.
What?
It was a DB for his pro day.
Crazy.
He was a shorter DB at the University of Tennessee, and he needed like a half an inch.
All right, you know what this reminds me of?
Yeah.
There's a classic episode of the Andy Griffith Show where Barney Fife has to re-qualify for what the state of North Carolina requirements are measurement-wise, and he did not meet the height measurement. And so he has this apparatus hung in Aunt B's closet that pulls his... It's like, it's the funniest thing, trying to make sure he makes re-qualification. So totally I know those things go on. And you're right about the universities.
Probably seen it.
He probably has. The universities always seem like, because you're like, this corner's 6'1", and he's 5'11".
For real. Like, it happens so often, man.
Wait a minute.
People were really going after Jim Nagy in the Senior Bowl of like, well, why are your measurements so much different from the combine? Well, then now the pro day measurements actually look closer to what the Senior Bowl measurements
and
were
he's going
versus the combine.
Yeah, from being his GM position at Oklahoma saying, Boomer Sooner, thank you.
That's right. Do you remember what your arm length was at the combine? I've got it in front of me.
My arm length was, I think it was 34 inches.
33.
33 and what? Doesn't just say
33.0.
Cool.
Is what the relative athletics score
Hands
says.
were 10, over 10, if I'm not mistaken.
10, 6, 2, 5.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because you got some bear claws, man.
I feel like they've gotten smaller, though.
Is that a thing?
Says the guy that has them. I'm looking over here going, nope, doesn't look that way to me.
Your crooked finger does always kind of
the
freak me out a little bit.
deformities in it right now
The
is
ring
a little
finger on
off.
your right hand being the way it is.
It's a
Who
little
was
messed up.
responsible for that, or just Father Time?
New York Giants defensive tackle. I was being a
who?
I was being I forget. He wasn't. He
wasn't nobody.
Nameless.
I say that out loud.
He's not giving him that juice.
No, it was cool
giving him
though.
that
It
oxygen.
was real cool.
Maybe Jason Pierre-Paul tried to take one of your fingers since he lost track.
Oh, happy 4th. Early.
Back up, Terry.
Idiot.
Wow. JPP mentioned.
No, what had happened was it was a preseason game on top of that. After I stretched it out, I ain't even played no more after this. And I was just honestly, I was being a jerk. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was being a jerk. I 100% was being a jerk, Rhett, because he was blocking. Ball was gone, and the wide receiver was down. I see the play in my mind vividly right now. The wide receiver was down the line, and he was running away. Defensive lineman have to do what? Pursue to the ball. So I had him locked up, and I'm talking to him. You can't go nowhere. Can't. Yeah, let's dance right here. I'm talking to him. And he pulled, and I pulled back. And he pulled again. And when he pulled the second time, my hand opened up. And that tendon right there stretched with it. So that's how it happened.
Wow.
I should have let him go. No, I felt like the tendon goes.
Yeah.
Like I felt the tendon stretch, and then my hand got warm, and then we were out.
Your hands look better than a lot of guys that I have seen that have played. I mean, man, I remember the first time I interviewed Anthony Munoz up there in Cincinnati. And
Baldinger. Yeah.
Baldinger, same thing.
Yeah, Munoz.
Blaine's got a finger that's,
sideways.
Yeah, and that's just
discombobulated.
Yeah.
I should have let the guy go, though. I was trying to prove a point. I had just gotten paid that off season, and I was out there trying to just have my dominance.
Save it for the regular battles, man. What's
wrong? I was tripping. That's on me. I was tripping.
You? Tell me who hurt you.
I was tripping.
Okay,
I'm gonna be real with you.
That is what Ramone's hearing.
That's what we're hearing.
What Ramone's feeling.
I was tripping, man. But it was fun though. But campuses is just a little bit more laid back. Sure. And they'll give you that on campus. Mm-hmm. But I do think to be real with you, I think it's closer to campuses measurements than it is. Yes.
Interesting.
I just think it's interesting that there's this disparity between measurements, and really is pertaining to a specific position group.
Yeah,
ones that may determine. Yeah. I mean, their play is going to determine it overall, but the first thing is the arm length as to whether you're inside or outside.
But there's also discrepancies this year with a lot of these guys who are tackles that are now labeled as guards. Like, that's one of the telltale signs. Like, your footwork, better be really, really, really good or long arms.
Did you see the quote from Mike Vrabel saying he thinks Will Campbell's a tackle? A bunch of people that wanted Peter Skronsky to be a tackle are kind of up in arms in Nashville about it.
Did he really?
Oh, boy.
Did he really?
Yeah, it's funny.
Here's the thing about people being in arms about.
I love it.
Up in arms about things that have moved on.
Yep.
Don't be the.
Don't
be the ex in the relationship here that's sour. Like,
these are good words of wisdom, Rhett.
Yeah, because here's the thing: it is a business. There is change in that business, and sometimes people go places and they never have success again, and sometimes they go and have great success. And look,
part of it.
It's just what it is. And also saying, I don't like it any more than you do, but come on.
Yep.
I love it. We're going to scout some edge rushers with Rhett Bryan at Titans Radio coming up next. RKW Brew by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone continues. You can download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Rhett Bryan in studio talking Titans and scouting edge rushers. Something the Titans need, don't they, Rhett?
They do. They absolutely do. They've added a couple of things in free agency, and but yeah, Harold Landry is gone. He's in New England, and they need some help for those who are left behind.
Sure. So I heard Todd McShay talking about this yesterday on his podcast, saying there are a lot of edge rushers who are but prospects, meaning that there are many guys that either have the production but maybe not the traits of the intangibles, or the traits of the intangibles, but who is it? Shamar Stewart, the guy that
1.5 sacks,
more than a 3-sack season.
Yeah.
Or you've got the quote unquote character concerns, or it's the foot thing for Abdul Carter. So a lot of good prospects, a lot of depth, Rhett, but there are some red flags for many of these guys. Let's start at the top, though, with Abdul Carter and the injury that is well documented. What about him separates his productivity and traits from the rest of this draft class at edge?
For one, he's just one of a couple blue players in this draft. Like, he is viewed as like a can't miss prospect. But however, because he wore number 11 and he played at Penn State, don't think he's the second coming of Micah Parsons. That's a different deal. There's a lot of similarities there with both of their alma maters and their player number they wore. But listen, I think it's evidenced by, and it was really came to the forefront when they got into the college playoffs, and he had the shoulder injury, and he's just absolutely wrecking guys with one arm. I mean, he's making life rough.
Bad shoulder.
12 quarterback sacks last year, 68 tackles. And he's got the size. I mean, I forget what he rang in at the combine, but here we go. Oh, wait, he didn't measure at the combine. I forgot about that. I forgot what he rang in at his pro day, but the production is there. And listen, the drop-off isn't really, really bad after him. Like, Todd McShay's right. There's red flags, whether it's medical or whatever. But there's red flags on a lot of players in every draft. And so some of that I take with a grain of salt. It's one of the richer positions in this draft. I mean, you're talking about value. Some people believe that there is starter value through the early 4th round.
Wow.
So you're talking about, and that's probably what we should discuss is, yes, we know the Abdul Carters, a couple of the other guys, but who are some of the others involved? But yeah, there's a lot of value throughout. And again, so for the people who are near the top of the draft, Abdul Carter probably is a target if that's what you're looking for, but there'll be others mentioned. I mean, there'll be quite a few taken on night one, which, by the way, it's 3 weeks from tomorrow night.
Is that not
22
wild?
days away.
I should probably tell the fine people what Titans radio programming looks like.
Let's do it.
The big man to my right here, and Amy Wells and Coach Dave McGinnis and myself, we will be live from 6 to 9 p. And that is on Thursday night, April 24th, and that'll be live from the draft party at Nissan Stadium up in the club section.
This is also an awesome event, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Every year it's gotten better. Those little sliders they had last year with the barbecue, fire. All right, I'm off that. But I've wanted this.
How about the pork belly pop?
Oh, my
Remember
gosh.
that?
Yes, I do.
Popsicles?
I tempted to make it at home one year, too. Just because of that.
Belly popsicles.
Oh, like they have
They
it
weren't
on the
ice.
sticks.
Yeah, they weren't.
So
they
they're
weren't
porksicles.
frozen.
Porksicles. There we go.
And then Friday night, we will be on the air 6 to 9 p.m. for round 2 and a little bit of 3, just because Titans currently don't have a 3. So that's kind of where we're at. And barring something unforeseen, I think they probably stay at number 1. I mean, at least looks like that 3 weeks out. So, but anyway, and then I'll do draft updates that you can hear here on the Zone twice an hour throughout most of them rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday. But it'll be fun. We'll be ready to roll, and Mac and I are making some more adjustments on the draft board. And anyway, so here we are. Getting back to edge rushers.
Yes.
So Penn State, Abdul Carter.
Who's number 2?
You know,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
It's been
good.
changing,
You're good.
I feel like.
Because depending on who you talk to, like Todd McShay said yesterday, he thinks James Pierce, as far as total pass rush ability, is number 2. You have the Shamar Stewart Hive. You have Michael Williams and Jalen Walker, the 2 Georgia guys who are a bit out of position versus a traditional edge. Williams a little bit bigger, Walker more of an off-ball linebacker hybrid. On the Mac Rhett board, who is your number 2 in your opinion, or who do you think is that guy?
I think we have, I don't have it here with me, but I think we have Jalen Walker.
Okay.
Right in there. And you mentioned his, because he's not the biggest guy. He's played off-ball linebacker, and he is a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what Jalen Walker, I can't remember what his measurements were at the combine, but he's, just a little over 6 feet. Anyway, Butkus Award winner, first-team All-American, 61 tackles, 6.5 sacks in 2024. And he's got some juice to him. And his teammate, Michael Williams, I think there's a chance he's drafted somewhere in the first round. And then Mike Green, of course, we met at the Senior Bowl.
Absolutely. Who skyrocketed.
Well, and, he won the sack title in college with 17 sacks at Marshall. And certainly
you can, with that real quick on him, those numbers sometimes correlate to the next level. And I think a lot of time we talk ourselves out of it. Like, guys have a lot of production. Like, I go specifically at another position. Like, you catch a wide receiver coming out of the draft, and he may be from a lower-tier school, but, like, there's certain things, Rhett, that coaches look for that make guys dudes. Like, I know Caleb talk about, like, Cam and the amount of reps that he's had in college and, like, his ability to go from one organization to the next and pass tests at every single place. And I'm looking at Mike Green's situation the exact same way. Like, those things sometimes, 17 sacks is nothing to sniff at. Like, going and being that productive, like, there has to be a method to it. And I feel like with a guy like him, some have him as a first rounder. Some might even push him back a little bit because, we talk ourselves out of it. But Rhett, he looked to have had the goods at the Senior Bowl.
Well, he did, and I think red flag wise for him, it's some of the off-field concerns.
Okay.
And I'm sure teams are doing their due diligence and vetting that out. So we'll see what happens with that. But the other names you mentioned in this, Donovan Azaraku from Boston College, could be a late night 1 pick, maybe more of early night 2 at 6'2" and a half, 248 pounds, 82 3/4 inch wing, very productive at Boston College. I mean, he finished second behind Mike Green. He had 16.5 sacks at BC. But
real quick, that's who Field Yates has for the Titans at 35 this morning in his new 2-round mock draft.
Azaraku? Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen that at a couple spots.
Interesting.
In people's mock drafts.
Okay. And then, Shamar Stewart, he's built in a lab, is how you look at him.
Yeah.
But the question that remains with him is, where's the production?
Right.
And then built like he was in a lab and then has production is James Pierce.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one that has the package, the total package with that. I think there's talk about nobody really knows him because he didn't talk at Tennessee.
I used to think that was a good thing.
Yeah.
I used to think.
And look, people will vet all that out, but I mean, he did well at the combine.
Yeah.
And the tape is there. I mean, he can move. He can move.
And guys have been drafted off of those measurables, too. We know that to be true, Rhett. Like,
sure.
With what you're looking for. The way I look at James Pierce's situation, I feel like he could still go top 10 or top 20, and nobody would bat an eye at it because once you become a pro, those problems right there, you're going to lose millions of dollars if you do this again.
Sure. 6'5" 1/4", 250, 245 for James Pierce. 10-inch hands, 32 3/4 inch arms, nearly 81-inch wing, and tested 4.47 in the 40 at 6'5" 1/4. 156 in his first 10 yards, 31-inch vertical leap, 10.3 broad. So, there's that. Trying to think. Oh, you know who else I like in this? And, dude, he just looks like a cyborg. This is the guy that we saw at Senior Bowl is Landon Jackson from Arkansas.
I was just going to say that. Cyborg, I love it.
Yeah, he's
polarizing to me, Rhett. You know why? Who's the Colts first round draft pick last year? The edge. I'll find his name in a second. But he reminds me of him. With this
Laiatu
Latu.
Yeah.
Silly guy.
Yeah.
More stiff of an athlete. But they're crazy athletes at the same time. Like, Latu last year, I was shocked he went that high. One, because of the neck thing that he had going on. But when you see him rush, I don't know if I see the fluid bend that tells me, oh, that's a top 10 pick. Yeah. But his production happens the same as Landon Jackson's does, too. Like, you see him move, and it's very herky-jerky. Like, I love blocking guys like that because I knew you had to power through me or you were going to use your long attributes as far as, like, your arms and bend. Not bend, but, like, your long arms and reach and stuff. Like, but Rhett, he tests off the charts. His production has been there, and you throw in he played in the SEC as a plus for him. I guess.
He has SEC tape,
right? He got SEC tape.
So 6'6", nearly 6'7", 264 hands, 10 arms 33 and a quarter, nearly 84-inch wing, and at those measurements. 4.68 in the 40 at nearly 6'7", 264. 165 in his first 10. So there's the close, short area quickness. 40.5-inch vertical
It's
leap.
insane.
It makes you look at James Pierce and go, what happened, man? 31 inches?
I mean, maybe not having a little hair on the head helps in that aspect, but, regardless.
But 40.5-inch vert and a 10.9 broad. So there's some athleticism there.
Yeah, it is, and again that 40-inch vert for him it oozes like explosion.
Sure,
for him, but when you see him go, it's just like, all right, bro, when is this going to translate over to you? Like your game, like your feet to ground and just run through guys.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's going to stay at DN or will he be a Calais Campbell type that moves in and play like a hybrid 3 technique if he can put on weight like that. And I'm always trying to move people to the interior, so don't mind me.
And speaking of putting on weight, there's an interesting prospect in this group, and that's Nick Scourton from Texas A&M.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He played at 280 and dropped some LBs before the combine. So 6'2 3/4, rang in at the combine at 257. So dropped 20 plus. 10-inch hands, 33-inch arms, 81 wing, and certainly, has done well at that program. But he's one that was thicked up and then thinned out. And I think that was, probably to gain some speed and those things. But, yeah, it just depends on what you want in this thing. But I think there's value throughout. I mean, Ashton Gelati from Louisville is someone that is an interesting prospect. Jared Ivey from Ole Miss is a big guy. It's nearly 6'6", 274. Savion Jones from LSU. Kyle Kennard, South Carolina. Oluwafemi Oladejo at UCLA. Your guy, Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech. That's a guy that's a value selection.
A menace in practice down there.
Jack Sawyer.
I was just
we saw what he did at Ohio State, and certainly in that playoff run. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Josiah Stewart from Michigan. Like I said, there's plenty. I mean, this might be the richest position in the draft, just, when you look at value throughout.
And Rhett, with the moves that they've made during free agency on that line, they've obviously got some versatile pieces, but I do feel like if they're going to draft someone, they got to feel pretty comfortable that it's going to be that edge primary spot. I would guess, in terms of the lack of that exactly.
Now, I would tend to agree, Kayla, but I think it just depends on, there are runs on positions and players throughout the draft. And when you're talking about night 2 at pick 35.
Right.
First of all, it's a valuable spot to be in because people will, it's not like the old days where you had rounds 1, 2, and 3 in one day and rounds 4 through 7. So you had time to get phone calls and to go, hey, I would like 35. Would you take this? And would you? So that's always possibility. But the other part of it is, I would tend to think you're right because of the value throughout that first 3 or 4 rounds, even though they don't have a 3rd round pick for this position at edge. If we're talking about wide receiver, There's another pod of wide receivers that probably start night 2, so I don't know if there's somebody there that is higher ranked on their board than an edge pass rusher in this, but can you wait till the 4th round if you decide to take that? So, your theory is founded. I get it. I do get that. And one would think that might be what that is because there is no 3rd round pick. And, getting from 35 to 104, that's a long way.
Long wait.
And a whole nother day before that happens. Sure. So
it's interesting. Within Field Yates' mock draft, he actually has the Buffalo Bills jumping up to take defensive tackle Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. And within that says he has them trading a 4th rounder in that process. So if you want to move back 6 to 8 spots in that 2nd round, like we mentioned, and you do want to get another pick to make that wait not be as long, it's unlikely you're going to get a 3rd round pick moving back in the 2nd, which we talked about last week as well.
And so if you, in that scenario, and you're talking about that was with the Titans trade?
No, that was with the Bills and the Giants making a trade. So the Bills moving up from 38, just moving up 4 selections and getting a 4th round pick.
And so you moved a 7th round pick the other day.
Right.
And so if, let's just say that's the Titans. So then you'd have 3 in round 4, 2 in round 5, 2 in round 6. So you'd have a busy 3rd day.
You would. You would.
And potentially a chance to maybe move some of those 6s around. So maybe there's somebody else in round 4 that you like.
It is funny within this. He does have the Browns moving up or not moving up. He has the Browns taking Tyler Shuck at 33. If you're a Titans fan and you want to trade back in the 2nd round, you need to be cheering for Tyler Shuck and Jackson Dart to both be there at the top of round 2. Because then ideally, if someone wants to give you overvalue for your 2nd round pick, they might do that for a quarterback.
Sure. And that would be the one,
That's the caveat that would get you a 3rd.
No, and that's the difference. That's what we always talk about with the difference in the regular draft and the quarterback draft.
Seriously.
And the crazy thing is I still hear and read where there are scenarios where that is Shedeur Sanders at 33.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Jeez. And there could be a run on quarterback.
I just don't know that Shedeur falls that
I don't think so
far.
either.
I don't think so, but who knows?
But, I've been saying for a while that if Cleveland doesn't take him at 2, and if the Raiders don't take him at 6, there's a chance he tumbles a good little ways. Pittsburgh's waiting on Aaron Rodgers at 21. So
seriously.
I think that's one reason why, with what the Giants have done recently, and then the reports about a 6-hour meeting and a workout with DK Metcalf and all that stuff in Pittsburgh, why that feeds some of this.
Totally.
Is it far-fetched? No, it's all hypotheticals this time of year anyway, but I saw a talking head have the Titans moving back in the 1st round to go get Luther Burden at the end of the 1st. Like, is that like an ultimate dream to get a guy like him or to mortgage away more draft picks? And I know this is not what this conglomerate has said they wanted to do is lose draft picks, but the idea that you're going to get your quarterback, then you also complement him with a wide receiver late in the 1st?
Up in the
from 35 to like 28 or 29.
You said moving back, and I was like,
yeah,
wait a minute, we're talking about moving from 1 all the way down.
Yeah.
I'm like, if we're doing that, I hope somebody's giving us like 3 1s and
a lifetime of 1st round.
Yeah, and a year's supply of gasoline and like all those kinds of things.
I only bring it up because you get more talent, and then moving from 35 to 29 or 30. I mean, that's a different mortgage right there that you're paying. You're not paying a premium mortgage at that point. You still got to give up something, but I doubt it's another 1st rounder to move to 28 from 35.
Well, and I think the other thing is just the financial part of it too.
Finance.
Because if there's somebody that they value enough in that scenario, I don't know that they would want to give up draft capital. I don't know that you'd have to give up a ton, but the other part of it is if it's quarterback at 1 and say it's Luther Burden, and you believe those are long-term prospects, having the 5th-year option
alleviates.
That's just
that's fair.
That's a thought for down the road.
Yeah, for down the road.
Obviously that's the only round you have that fifth-year option in. Anything else is a 4-year deal.
You need a
I saw,
younger, talented guy.
PFF actually.
No, they need help in the wide receiver.
PFF had a mock yesterday that had Luther Burden sitting there at 35 for the Titans.
Jeez, what the?
Had the
That'd be
Titans
wild.
taking Burden at 35 to pair with Cam Ward.
And so that, that brings the question back to your question, Kayla, is do they have an edge pass rusher ranked higher than Luther Burden or vice versa? I mean, that's something only they know behind four walls in a draft room, in a war room.
Like if James Pierce falls to you at 35.
I think you got to take James Pierce, don't you?
Sure.
Same thing with Mike Green, because we hear quote unquote red flags and off field stuff, and sometimes that doesn't matter to teams, and sometimes it does. Like if either of those two guys fall to you at 35, I am picking up the phone so fast and taking either one of them, Mike Green or James Pierce Jr.
Yeah, because both of them have production,
100%,
and one of them has production against and arguably the best talent in the world.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the biggest red flags as of late real quick. Abdul Carter has been a model citizen in the NFL, off the field.
And he's never been hurt.
He's had
His whole
situations on the field. But Jalen Carter has done his thing too, with Philly.
Yeah.
As many red flags as he had coming
They've
out.
lucked out with them roll the dice.
I think that,
I meant Jalen Carter, not Abdul. My bad. Yeah, with Philly.
You said Jalen, you're good.
I did?
Yeah, you did. And let's take it home a notch. With Big Man, with Meatloaf here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They did.
Yeah. Extensive.
They did their due diligence, and they poured resources into that.
Oh,
and
100%.
that's what they did in Philly with Jalen Carter.
Yep.
But with Tavondre Sweat, because we know what happened before, just
so true.
This time a year ago before he was drafted.
Yep.
And there's network of people that help him, and he did very well.
Exactly.
Very well. So, it's what you invest, and where is your tipping point is what is too much, and those kinds of things.
Facts.
So,
Love it. Rhett Bryan with us Wednesday mornings. We will have 2 more positional previews with Rhett, and then we will be talking about the NFL draft.
Holy smokes.
Wow.
In draft week.
Green
It'll be
Bay.
draft
Get
eve
ready.
before we know it, Rhett. Thank you, sir.
yes, you are welcome.
Midweek motivation with Inky Johnson, plus a Vols basketball headline that just broke, coming up next. RKW is brewed by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. As we wrap up the show, the Lucas Panzica program is up next. Some Tennessee basketball news this morning. VolQuest's Grant Ramey is reporting that Maryland transfer guard Jacoby Gillespie is getting an in-person visit from the Tennessee basketball coaches today ahead of the recruiting dead period that begins tomorrow. And yesterday there was an on-3 transfer prediction with 70% confidence that Jacoby Gillespie will be a Tennessee Volunteer. If you listened to this show yesterday, I essentially told you that as well.
Yeah, it's been a rumblings.
I would be surprised. Again, it's transfer portal. These things change very quickly. We thought Tennessee was getting Josh Thompson, the guard from Northwestern. And then LSU's offer got more expensive and he went to LSU. So these things can always change. But as of today, I think he is the number one target on Tennessee's board from what I've heard. And I would be surprised if he's not a Vol. I'm willing to go that far.
Tennessee guy coming home in terms of
Greenville. Green Devil.
Mm-hmm.
Former Bruin.
Former Belmont Bruin.
Yeah, 2 years there.
Was terrific there. You missed it yesterday. I said on the show that spending time around that program and doing sidelines for that team the past couple of years, he was consistently the go-to guy in big moments.
You saw it.
Belmont would draw up things for Jacoby. He was the guy with the mentality and with the winning mindset of like, no, everybody follow me. He has been ready for a step like this for a long time, and he is a great basketball player.
That's the point, too, that's always to be made. Like, if you good, they're going to find you. And I think specifically on basketball, like they got an eye for going to go get a guy like him. And not just for that, too, but like teams that maybe middle of the road, like big power four teams, you got to also keep those dudes, too. Like, because the Vols, I mean, they had a guy leave in the middle of the season that had those same sentiments about himself.
Cam Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Carr, it happens, man. So good on him for making it out, man. I'm sure you're going to have a different lifestyle after this one.
Anything can happen.
He's a good fit, too, in terms of just a plug-and-play type of guard.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, Tennessee is going to have, in order to meet the expectations that it has as a program, they're going to have a point guard be the quarterback of their offense that has power four experience, and Jacoby checks that box in a big way, taking Maryland nearly to the taking them to the Sweet 16 against Florida. Not necessarily nearly to the Elite Eight. They kind of got beat up by Florida late in that game. But he is hearing from Villanova, Kentucky, another team that's in the mix for Jacoby Gillespie. So I don't expect him to get something done right away. Again, you never know.
Yeah, never.
But it sounds like this one may go another week until that dead period ends. So there's a recruiting dead period about a week long that starts tomorrow. So I think it is interesting. They're making sure they visit him today. I imagine trying to get him to commit today before that dead period opens tomorrow, and they got to, let him think about it and all those things.
I would if I could, man. Go ahead and lock him up.
Part of the Crab Five, Jacoby Gillespie. Part of the starting five for the Terps that all average double digits. So there is that. Good stuff.
That's big time. Good for the Vols, man. They're going to have to reload. They're losing a lot of leadership. A lot of talent, man. That's Coach Barnes might have his biggest year in front of him so far this year. So I don't deny that he can get this done. It's just a matter of how soon it comes together.
That's right. We have VFL on the phone lines. As we do on Wednesdays, we always hear from Inky Johnson, our good friend, with some midweek motivation. Get us through the middle of our morning, middle of our week. Inky, what's going on, man?
What's going on, guys? Honor to be on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you for being on with us, Inky Johnson.
No doubt. No doubt. I want to start us off, man, with a quote. And it reads, continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. And so my wife and I, we have a 13-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter, 11 months apart, Irish twins, give us a run for our money every day of the week. And so in Atlanta, Chick-fil-A is headquartered in Atlanta. So it's Chick-fil-A's everywhere, right? My family, they love Chick-fil-A, man. Like my son think it's the coolest thing ever. But the thing I respect about Chick-fil-A, rain, sleet, or snow in Atlanta, is going to be somebody outside of Chick-fil-A with an iPad saying, my pleasure. I'm talking about thunderstorm, rain, sleet, or snow. Somebody's going to be outside drive-through with an iPad saying, my pleasure. And my son, whenever he's with me, he's like, Dad, this is the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, Ink, I'm telling you, man, everybody doesn't operate like that. I say, Ink, you go to Popeyes, man, they might throw a biscuit at you, Ink. I'm like, everybody doesn't operate like that, right? But the thing that I really appreciate about him, I was thinking about it one day. I'm like, man, like every time me and my family, we pick our kids up, like they always want to go to Chick-fil-A. Like, why do you all want to go to Chick-fil-A all the time? I'm like, is it the grilled nuggets? Is it the chicken sandwich? And my wife said something, and I was like, okay, bingo, got it. She was like, the lady in the drive-thru reminds me of my aunt. I'm like, but she's not your aunt. I'm like, Chick-fil-A got enough, right? But the quote says it, man. Like foundationally, I always tell my children, foundationally, just be a good person, right? Because the quote says it. People may forget what we do. People may forget what we say. But people will never forget the way we make them feel. And in any arena of life, no matter what it is, business, sports, radio, whatever it is, right? We're always giving a feeling off to people. We're making people feel a certain type of way. And I always tell people, man, the X factor will always be people. That's why we go to the places that we go to. That's why we interact with the people that we interact with. That's why we listen to the people that we listen to, not just because of the expertise, the knowledge base, or the information, but because of how they make us feel. Never forget, man, whatever we do, whatever we're connected to, we're always making people feel a certain type of way. Go be great, man. That's my time. Thanks.